Hey, it's Robert Kirkman.
Is that doing it?
That does it.
Hey, what's up?
What's
Did
going
you guys?
on?
Did you guys want to confirm that it was me? Did you not believe me?
Kind of. It's a little surreal.
Hello and welcome to the 50th episode of the Invincible Podcast, the best superhero podcast in the universe. This is a bi-weekly show where friends get to sit around and talk all things Invincible, a comic book by Robert Kirkman, Corey Walker, and Ryan Ottley. I'm one of your hosts, Ryan, and joining me is TJ.
Oh, hello.
And Bill.
Hi, everyone.
Happy 50th.
Happy 50th. Happy 50th to you. Happy 50th.
Happy 50th.
A very happy 50th to you.
And you.
And you.
And you.
Holy shit, guys, do we have a huge episode. We have no idea how long this is going to be yet, but
It's going to be a freaking...
buckle up.
It's going to be a double-sized at least.
We've got, we're going to be going over a couple, little news items. Obviously, we're going to be talking about the final issue of Invincible, issue 144. But not only that...
we've come to the end.
Not only that, though, we actually had the privilege of sitting down with none other than Robert Kirkman and talking to him for a while, about an hour ago. So we're going to have that on this episode. We also reached out to you guys and asked you to send in your audio clips and your thoughts of the end of all things.
So, once again, tell us everything that's going to be in this episode, because it is a long one. So I want people to understand what is happening when. So we have our discussion.
We're gonna start off with some news items.
Okay.
Then we're gonna talk in depth on 144, what we thought of the final issue, and then that's gonna roll over into the Kirkman interview.
Our Robert Kirkman.
Into what?
The Robert Kirkman interview.
I can't...
I know.
It's the headphones. 1 minute. The Robert Kirkman interview?
Oh yeah.
Not the most important part.
shit.
Yeah.
And then...
Don't you fast forward this podcast. Don't you dare fast forward.
What else, Ryan?
And then after that, we've got some listener feedback, both emails. We asked for listeners to send in some audio clips of their thoughts on the final issue, as well as some more stuff. So we've got a lot to talk about and a lot to go over. So this is going to be a lot of fun. Buckle up. We welcome any new listeners who found this podcast. If this is your first one, what a first one to jump onto. But if you go back, we did new issue discussions on all the new issues whenever they were released. We talk about all the tie-ins. We have the Brit and Wolfman tie-ins covered. Pretty soon we're going to be talking about guarding the globe.
And Tech Jacket.
Volume 1 and 2. We obviously have the new reader series where, we sit down with people who have never read Invincible before and went through the entire series along with them and, got to see what they thought of the series from a fresh perspective. And then other stuff, like last episode was really fun. We got a lot of great feedback from everybody. We played Super Fight and infused the deck with a bunch of Invincible related cards. And we're definitely going to have to do that again. That was a ton of fun. So welcome new listeners. Anyways, remember, you can find us on Twitter, on Facebook, even on YouTube. That's where we post some of these episodes, even though they're not video. And you can email us at theinvinciblepodcast@gmail.com to be a part of the show. But first, some news items. Ottley posted a fist a couple days after we recorded.
Breaking news. Ottley posted a fist.
Yep. That was so funny. We were, what was this? This was a few days after we finished the last episode.
I hate you guys. And
we were blowing up your phone. And we were having a good time theorizing what it was going to be.
It was basically just Ryan and I talking back and forth, and then Bill, like, are you guys kidding me right now with all these text messages?
It was like 25 text messages later.
It's just a close-up of a fist. And then, Kirkman replied saying you're not supposed to show that yet and goofing off. Like, we kept talking about what it could be. And then, spoiler, it's not in the final issue.
It's not in the final issue. And then you said on the Twitter handle that it, like...
Oh, I just said, like, so what about this?
And then Ottley said soon, or you'll find out soon.
Or you'll see. He said you'll see. So yeah, that's kind of exciting. We still don't know what it is.
I feel like every month there's going to be something new Invincible.
I hope, man.
Ugh.
But otherwise, Skybound posted a really cool video looking back They called it at
That was a good one. It had like all the editors on there and stuff like that.
All
like,
the Skybound staff and Kirkman and everybody talking about different things and what Invincible meant to them and how they found it and just different.
It's a good video because they sound like fans.
Yeah.
They sound like fans, and it sounds like they're passionate about the entire comic and it ending, and it was a really good watch. It's like 2 minutes long, right?
Yeah. Yep.
Maybe.
Yep. So check that one out. There are a ton of interviews out, especially after this final issue.
With Kirkman, with Ryan Ottley.
Holy hell!
It's crazy.
Like Ottley just on his Twitter alone posted like 4 interviews, maybe not 4, but like 2.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, between him and Kirkman, there's a lot out there, and so take a look at all those. We've retweeted them. Check out Ottley's page. One of them was just posted like an hour ago. It was the Comic Book Resources one about the movie, saying that the Invincible movie will be more dynamic than the comic.
So I read it.
That's a bold statement.
I read that and I was a little like,
no. What they meant by that is that they're gonna follow the same story. They're not gonna change it. Like it's still Invincible. It's still the core story, the core characters. But they're gonna make it more cinematic for the timing.
Yeah.
And they didn't say anything more about like the timing, what that meant. But I just think about they only have max 2 hours to tell the story.
So it's not going to be a long story about maybe the math teacher making bombs.
Yeah, they said that it's more dynamic and that it's, I don't know.
Yeah.
I don't know. But they said specifically.
Well, think about it. We always talk about like the first movie should end with Nolan. You know what I mean? Obviously, stuff's going to have to be cut if they're going to include all of that. Mm-hmm. So, that makes sense. Either way, it's really not.
I feel like all that, we've talked about this in the past, like you said, about the movie, but I feel like all that other stuff is imperative to throwing you off the scent that Nolan is evil. You know what I mean? Yeah. I don't know. I feel like you need that other stuff.
Yeah. Well, that's part of the challenge, I'm sure, that they're facing, making you fall for this character and believing that he's a good guy.
I just hope with the timing of it that the market isn't so saturated with superhero stuff.
Again, but at the same time, like, it's not slowing down. There's so many superhero movies coming out, and they keep beating their own records.
Could it be any more saturated than it is right now?
No, probably not.
Every month or every other month, there's a superhero movie.
Yeah.
And they're the new blockbuster, right?
Maybe. Invincible, think about that. Invincible came out into a comic book industry saturated with superheroes, and it stood out. It stood out to us. I mean, there's something different about it. That's what they have to capture for the movie, right?
You're absolutely right, Ryan.
Thanks, Bill. Let's talk about the final issue of Invincible. You guys
we're
ready?
Just gonna jump right into it, just like that.
Are you guys ready?
Well,
I don't know. Like TJ,
with us. Okay, so we're recording on Thursday night. Obviously, the last issue came out yesterday. We've been avoiding each other, kind of waiting to see our live reactions here on the podcast. I want to know how you guys read it. I want to tell you how I read it. So
the original plan, we had hoped that both Bill and TJ, you guys would come over to my house in the morning, Wednesday morning. I'd make you guys breakfast. I'd try and distract Bill from his phone.
This was the plan? I didn't know about breakfast.
Oh, sorry. But yeah, breakfast would have been a thing.
A given.
I would have tried to distract Bill from his phone or his iPad so he wouldn't read it digitally, and we would go to the comic shop together, like pals, pick it up, and then go back and read it, and then go our separate ways. Unfortunately, both you guys had to work, so it didn't happen. I woke up, tried my hardest not to read it, and I had to leave the house, so I went and did like errands. I went grocery shopping. I went to Target.
You had off on Wednesday?
I went in a couple hours late.
How the hell? Go on.
Yeah, so I avoided Twitter, which was a pain, and just walked around, went to the comic shop, picked it up, went back home, sat in a very comfortable chair, and just opened it and just read it. So, yeah.
Do you want to know how I read it first?
I would, Bill. Okay. I would. I really would.
I've been having a lot of trouble sleeping lately. I don't know what it is, but I've been waking up at like 3 or 4 o'clock in the morning. And that morning, what was it? Was it yesterday?
It was yesterday.
Was it yesterday? Wow. Doesn't it seem like it was forever ago?
Yeah.
Okay, so yesterday morning I woke
up. We've had
a
busy 2 days.
At 5 o'clock. And I was like, oh yeah, it's Invincible Day. And I was like, and this isn't going to work. Ryan's plan is not going to work. So I'm going to download it digitally and read the shit out of it right now in bed. Mm-hmm. And so I read it at 6 o'clock in the morning.
If I couldn't have gotten off work, I would absolutely have read it digitally. There's no way I could have waited.
It felt like it took me all morning. Like it felt like I saw like the sun came up over the horizon as I was reading Invincible. It took me so long to read it.
Fun fact, I know how long it took me. I did actually set my GoPro up of me reading it.
You're such a nerd.
I've been working on I've been doing like GoPro and like videos of at the end of the year of things that happened throughout the year, and I thought it would be cool. And it took like 45 minutes to an hour to read.
That's exactly how long it felt for me. It was an hour because I looked at the clock, and I feel like I read it at 5. Mm-hmm. It dropped early.
Yeah.
And I think I read it at 5 and I finished at 6.
Wow.
Yeah.
How'd you read it, TJ?
So as we talked, I wanted to read the actual issue, but depending on how work went, I wasn't sure if I was going to wait. I wasn't going to kill myself. I was going to read it digitally if need be. But Wednesday was total hell at work. It was one of the worst days that I've worked in a very long time. It was insane. I worked like 12 hours and did not get a break. Went in at 5 o'clock in the morning. I was there until about 4:45 in the evening. Didn't take a break, so I did not get a chance to read it. I didn't read the new issue, the last issue of Invincible, until like 6:30 at night. It was painful.
Really?
It was because I didn't get out until like 4:30, and then it was like actually closer to 5. Went home real quick. Went out.
Did you just turn your phone off?
Yeah. Well, it wasn't off, but I didn't look at any of the notifications. I turned out just left them there. I went to the comic shop, got the comics. I got the regular and then the variant. Sat in my car. I was like, I'm gonna read it right fucking now.
Nice.
I turned to the cover page. Didn't even read a single word. Just saw the first page of Mark sitting there in the same way that his father was sitting there in the earlier issues. And I closed it and I said, there's no fucking way I'm ready for this. I put it down. I said, I'm not reading it in the car. I drove home, sat on my couch, got comfortable, and I read the shit out of it.
Like, I had that moment, like, before I even opened the first page, it was sad. I was thinking to myself, like, this is the last time I'll read the first page of an issue.
Yeah.
It was very weird because I read it like crack ass of dawn, so I was like just out of sleep. It was very eerie, and it just felt very strange to read the last issue of Invincible.
It was.
So,
all right, first page though, like TJ said, Mark reaching out. One of my early hopes and dreams. If we go back to our early, not predictions, but what we wanted most.
This issue and episode is going to be a lot about us following up with our predictions because
that's what we do.
A few things happened.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
I wanted so badly there to be a callback to the older series like this, and it's perfect. It's perfect because it's Mark saying, time you're old enough to tell you where we really come from.
Which is what Nolan said to him twice. First of which being a lie.
Yeah, and then the end of the truth.
Being the
and
truth.
then we actually got Thrag saying it at one point. Yeah, man, Ryan Ottley recreating some of these panels, but then not only recreating some of those panels, but showing us new versions of them. We got to see
the murder
of Argyle.
Yeah.
And why his skull has that huge crack in it.
Yep. Fucking stabbed through the top of his head. That was badass. So what are your guys' what are your opinions on this recap that took up 6 pages of the last issue of Invincible?
It's a great jumping on point for people.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
They can kind of catch up and then continue the series.
And then have it end.
10 pages and then
it's over.
And then it's over forever.
I was grinning like an idiot. I'm sorry. I love these kind of things. I'm sorry if you think that it took a little too much time. This is exactly what I want. This is Mark. Like, this is bookending this entire issue. Like, this is Mark telling Marky, like, their history. This whole comic is about him, his family, and their history. It has to start with this.
I agree. That wasn't us being negative about it. I loved this. Oh, you disagree, Bill?
I feel like as a fan, and I feel like as a writer, Robert and as an illustrator, Ottley and Corey, they gotta all think the same thing. Like, they don't know what they want. You know what I mean? Like, and we talked about it in the interview a little bit, but like I can't help but feel ignorant. Like, I don't know what I want. Like, like as I was reading this, I was like, is this really gonna is he gonna tell the whole recap of the entire series up till he really is? Oh, it's another page of recap, and I get what he was doing and how it was supposed to feel nostalgic, and it did. The first page, gut wrenching.
Oh yeah,
like it had me. I was like, oh my god, thank you so much. The second page, even I could have dealt with that, but 3 more pages after that, I felt it was just a little much. Mm-hmm. But again, what would I have wanted to fill those other 4 pages? I don't know.
Yeah,
The reason why I liked it is because we're hearing from Mark's perspective of what happened. You know what I mean?
But we already know what happened. It's exactly what has happened so far. It's exposition. You know?
Yeah, but I think that it's different when it's the final issue. And you know what? The fact that this issue was so long, I don't remember. I didn't close this issue and think to myself like, man, it could have been longer, or they could have done more of this if only they had less of that in it. But again, that's just how it is.
Yeah, I
TJ,
like
you got to see Rexplode is in the last issue of Invincible.
He is? Where?
Yeah. As part of the Guardians.
Oh yeah.
Oh yeah, he's in the background there.
There you go.
No shit. No shit.
No, it's great. And then we've of course got, the multiple panels of Marky.
That was fucking awesome. Mm-hmm. Like all the callbacks. Yeah. All the little things that
right there, that could have been it. And I would have been like, all right,
yeah,
that's fine.
But,
we got it.
So reading it digitally, it's panel by panel.
Yeah. And
I kept swiping, and I'm like, oh my god, please be the... Oh, yes, please. Please, God, let there be another panel. Oh my god, there's little bubbles of nothing, and then, like, it's finally he had to say something. There's 4 panels of nothing, and I loved every second of it.
Reused art. It's bringing it back full circle.
I loved it.
Mm-hmm. And then you turn the page, and then we get...
Bill, you take this one.
You get the prophesized second coming of Battle Beast. Prophesized?
Prophesied.
You would know that. Anyways, of Battle Beast. Mm-hmm. So this is her, by the way.
Yep.
Slaughtering all of the rebels?
Yeah, apparently there was an uprising. Do you think these are the
ones that assassinated
General Mock?
Was that his name? Yeah, because Battle Beast was Thok. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
The ambassador guy.
Yeah.
So
ambassador Mock,
yeah. But she couldn't stop.
She just kept killing them.
She just annihilated everything.
I don't think she...
not everything,
I think she just killed all the rebels. She butchered them all.
Well, no, but I mean, even the one guy, he says that you couldn't stop, you went far, and saying that it's a curse. Mm-hmm. And that it was handed down. And when Battle Beast died, his curse was transferred to her, which was pretty cool. And then she says, and I quote, the one guy says it was a Viltrumite that bested your father in battle. And then she says, then I know who has brought the curse upon me. It is decided I will not rest until every Viltrumite in the universe is dead or I am. Mm-hmm. What did you think before you turned the page?
I thought this is the main antagonist for this issue.
Yep.
I thought, this is how this issue is going to be. Is she going to wipe out all the Viltrumites? It's going to come down. I was thinking so big picture when I read this.
4 more years of story arc, right?
Right.
I was too.
It was cool. I liked it.
We got 500 years.
Mm-hmm.
TJ, spoilers.
I also was trying to think whether or not she was related to Thresha, and I couldn't really see it. And
I could though, because if you look at her head, I understand how it happened.
But we actually asked Robert Kirkman that in the interview, so you're gonna have to wait to hear what he said.
Yep. Is she the daughter of Thresha in Battle Beast?
Yeah.
You'll have to wait.
So next page, we see Marky sitting there playing with a science dog and what looks like a robot. It kind of looks like robots like Hulkbuster.
Kind of. I don't think it's supposed to be anything, though. I like the fact that Science Dog has his arm broken off.
I love that. It's Mark's toy.
It's Mark's toy, right?
It's Mark's toy. It's an old-ass fucking Science Dog.
Mark is talking about how he kind of feels bad. He's like, I know that my people need me, but at the same time, Marky needs me too. Am I doing the right thing here? Mm-hmm. And, Debbie kind of says, listen, your people do need you, and I'm here to look after them. You don't have to worry about it. And she kind of says something like, you kind of made your choice. And he's like, wait a minute, don't put that on me. I made a choice that's best for everybody. It's not like I didn't choose one over the other. I wanted to do something that was best for everybody, which she understands. I liked that conversation a lot.
It was actually, and I feel like I'm going to say this after almost every page, that was one of my favorite conversations. It felt very finite.
Yeah.
Didn't it? I mean, but even she said,
and then even the next
she said,
page,
you're going to bring my granddaughter home. I'm going to see her once in a while. You're going to come back to Earth every so often. Like,
and then on
you're
the next
going to see
page, they
me.
continue that by, like Mark saying Earth has the best comics. Of course, I'll be back. And then, like, not saying goodbye, you know? Like, just go. You're coming back. Just go.
Right.
You know?
Yeah.
I loved all of that.
So then we get the last page of, his Marky's dad. What's his name? No.
Oh, shoot.
Kirk? No. Whatever his name is. Dad. He's dad. He's real dad. He's Earth dad, not space dad.
Yeah. That was cute. Marky
So the
saying
conversation,
Earth
them
dad,
saying,
space dad.
let's leave your, grandma alone. Let's go home.
So, I mean...
Turn the page.
We talk about this a little bit in the Kirkman interview. This is all from Marky's perspective. Nothing in
That's
this
what I
issue.
loved about
nothing
this.
in this issue is in Mark's perspective.
Right.
Oh, yeah, because Marky's even in the background playing with the action
It
figures,
goes
hearing
off-
his
Yes.
father. And
It goes off into Marky's story.
Yep. So when you see that ship take off, Mark's on that ship, Marky's looking at it, Mark's leaving, and this is Marky's story.
So
Good.
So when I turned the page, I was like, okay, now I understand what's happening.
Yeah, immediately
Now,
it was
now
like,
I get it.
oh.
So how many pages was that into the comic? That's 6, 7, 8, 9.
It says 14 on the top. So I think that counts the cover and everything.
Okay.
But yeah.
So 10?
About 10, 11.
10 pages in. And now I was like, I get it.
Yeah.
And I hope they continue
This
trend,
trend so far.
So
this time
what
frame.
he's talking about, what we're seeing is Marky older. He's probably like
He's 8 years old.
He's 8 years old. Debbie's got gray hair. She's much older now.
She's still looking fine though. Let's be real.
Seeing that they were going to the tailor shop, I think this is one of the first moments where I like put my head back and just like goofy smiled. You know, I mean,
Yeah.
it was so great. We've been talking about where's art? Where's art?
There's another reason why, again, I prefer digital. Because as soon as I turned the page, I saw art there, and it took me like a page and a half to actually get to him. You know what I mean? That's why I like digital, because I saw him as I turned the page.
So did I. Either way.
No. I'm saying when I turned the page and saw this whole page, on the
Oh,
other
yeah,
side
yeah,
was,
yeah. I see what you
was
mean.
art.
Because did you think for a second that art was gone and this woman was the new art?
Yeah, I did.
Yeah.
I thought she was gonna say something like, he's retired or something like that, and I can take care of you. Wink, wink, nudge,
Yeah.
nudge, and then nope.
But I
Debbie
like
was all-
that. I like Debbie being like, "Trust me, he'll want to take care of this one."
Okay. So
And how excited was Marky when he found out that that's the reason he was there to
That's
get his
who
own
he
costume?
was.
All right.
Yeah.
So skip, go. His costume.
Yeah.
Note that this is not the fist
No, it's not.
that Ottley posted because there's no blood on it.
And not just that, but
And
the
it's a
background's
different
a little
shape.
different.
I fucking love his costume.
Isn't it cool?
The only difference is the black outline.
Yeah.
And the gloves are different. Like the
That's
gloves
awesome.
are separate.
I'm glad that it was just very
It's
subtle.
like it's kind of like the sleeved gloves.
Yeah,
like
it's
they have that
it's
rolled
like
up.
it's like he
his
put out-
hair. You can tell that he looked up to his dad. You know, like I.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
I love
There's
this
still the
because
knee pads and stuff.
all this time, Marky is, and it was talked about when Marky walked into the tailor shop with Debbie. He talks about breaking Tara's tablet. All this time, Mark has been visiting Earth every now and then. He knows his dad is out there making the galaxy a better place. So he's excited to wear his costume and become a superhero. So he gets his own first... this felt very Oliver to me, right? Kind of reminiscent of Oliver getting his costume. And Art,
me, this
and
felt-
Art even said that.
Are you talking about the fight?
I thought it felt very invincible.
Well, yeah, but it was like him saying first fight. Like, I don't know. I remember Oliver doing that.
Yeah,
and being like,
for
Kid,
that-
Kid Omni-Man's first solo experience. You know,
But the fight itself felt very early Invincible to me.
yes,
I agree.
This
I
whole,
love
yes,
this.
I agree. So, yeah, he does that barrel roll.
Yeah.
Yeah, I liked him doing that little thing. Mm-hmm. That was pretty cool. So we have two new characters, one of which is part of the Guardians.
They both are actually. They
Right.
brought. Well, I'm pretty sure they brought them both on. Was it Wraith and what was his name? Wraith and because Wraith was the girl and it was her brother. I want to say.
Vengeance.
Yeah, vengeance.
Yeah, she said
please.
vengeance, please. Yeah, you've lost your way to the darkness. But so who do we have here? We have Monax.
Yeah, Monax,
Monster Girl.
Best Tiger.
Best Tiger, yeah.
We got Outrun sporting a new haircut. Pegasus is in there. So yeah, this is the Guardians of the Globe at this point. It just felt fun, right? Like it didn't feel like there was baggage. It was just him having an adventure, like fighting.
And I still didn't know what to think. Like I couldn't stop my brain from asking itself, what's next? What's on the next page?
Yeah. Again, we've talked, Bill, 2 episodes ago when they revealed the Terra cover, we were so excited because it felt fresh and new, and it was like old Invincible, where it was like unexpected and unknown and just so bright. And that was this issue, especially the first half. You know, and that's what this was.
This issue, it felt like, I don't want to say a love letter, but it felt like the most nostalgic thing Kirkman could have done.
That's
but
what
it
you
wasn't
want.
beating it over
That's
your
what you
head
want.
either.
That's
though.
right.
I know,
right.
but when do you get that in other comics or anything else that's ending? Like you always get like a finite ending that's just like boom, the end. There's this climax, there's an end boss fight, and then it ends.
There might be a subtle tie to the beginning. And
I actually disagree. I feel like most like big shows that have a season finale, they always try to bring it back to the first episode. I don't know.
Yeah, but there's always still this whole issue just felt like a nice an epilogue that was like bringing it back to the fans that, be it they just jumped on or they've been reading it for 15 years, you can go back and be like, oh my god, this feels
like early.
It feels like old Invincible,
right.
But I'm still I'm still getting a lot of closure. Like the next page, what happens?
Who would have predicted this? Darkwing? Seriously?
Being caught up in vengeance this entire time.
No, he's not in vengeance. He's in the void.
Or in the void.
Which vengeance uses to get his power from.
They draw power from the same darkness that Darkwing used. Like, that was such a cool callback. Like he was able to surprise us with something that's still canonical and still like relevant. He went missing in issue 60 during the Invincible War in the smallest panel. It shows him grab an Invincible from an alternate dimension and just drag him into the thing. And then later on, it's just touched on that. Oh yeah, he died. He died, or he went missing, or
So that Invincible somehow died.
Yeah, one or the other.
He bested an Invincible.
Well, we do know that there were creatures in the darkness.
Yeah, but I mean, they would still attack Darkwing.
Maybe he survives there, and that's how. Maybe they don't hurt him.
Maybe that Invincible didn't die. Maybe he's still in the...
Don't ask any more questions.
No more questions.
It's over.
It's over.
It's ended. But we got him back.
But yeah, that was such a cool callback, and bringing it way back just to someone who was literally in the first few issues of the series. At least his mentor was.
So
this is my moment. I'm taking this one.
Go ahead. You can.
I am taking this one.
So you read it panel by panel, right?
No.
Or did you read it page by page?
Comic, yeah.
I read it panel by panel.
So I turned the page, and all I saw, the first thing that draws your eye is that bright green spot.
But you know exactly what that is.
And you know exactly
what that is. That is Angstrom Levy. Immediately you think, holy shit, like Angstrom Levy's back. How is this possible? Comes through a younger Angstrom Levy. It's his son. He says...
With his pet fox chainsaw.
That's so awesome.
That's sweet, and he looks so cool.
He has a pet fox? That's so sick. I want a spin-off of just him. Just him. That's such a cool...
Just the fox chainsaw?
Just chainsaw?
Chainsaw the fox.
He says, no chainsaw. Dad's not going to be here either. He's been erased from the multiverse. There's none of him left. This is the dimension of his greatest enemy, Mark Grayson, and he kind of stares off.
Okay, let's talk about this for a second.
He's creating a universe for Marky.
Yeah, because this takes place when Marky is young, we can assume. I mean, this jumps around, so there's no proof, but we assume it takes place when he's younger.
We talked about this.
Yeah.
How, like, wouldn't it be cool if, like...
He's fighting...
villains, and so, like, he had his own villains and everything
Beyond.
like that. Yeah, it's like Batman Beyond. Oh, it feels like Batman Beyond.
What's cool about this panel is it's completely left it to interpretation. He might be looking for Mark Grayson to get answers. He might not be a straight up villain,
right?
But but he could too.
We don't even know what Angstrom Levy's son he is.
Well, you have to assume he's the original because none of the Angstrom Levys had the ability to travel through different dimensions.
Oh,
there was only
that one.
Yeah.
Okay, all right.
So
that's fair.
We assume that he had a son that he maybe visited now and then, but then after he became disfigured, maybe he forgot about him and went on his terror to take
You're
down
saying
Mark.
maybe a lot.
Because we don't know. And
we will never know.
We'll never know. That's so exciting.
That's
I
part
love
of
that.
what makes this awesome is that it is left over.
We can
to
talk about that.
interpretation.
We can talk about
Yeah.
what we think freely without thinking like, oh, but maybe we'll find out the
we
truth.
could be wrong.
Yeah, but no, it's... Oh, man.
This was...
Okay. We're at the Pentagon. So, yes, we got one last panel of parking in rear. The Immortal and Amanda are there with the brain for Robot. And they talk about, Wraith, and this is when they mention thanks for bringing Wraith on the team. And they talk about Darkwing. And Immortal leaves, and Amanda's there with Robo Brain.
And he's still trying to
he's saying,
explain himself like,
saying,
Amanda, I'm lonely.
I'm lonely. And she says, I love this. She says, you like to tell yourself you made a sacrifice to save the world, but that this had to be done, and that you ended up living in a tube again, alone, like some kind of martyr. The truth is, this is the world you wanted. Deal with it.
He says, I will.
Again, a callback.
Because what else is he going to do?
Okay, TJ, right there, what you just said, that's how I read it. I will. You're right.
I will.
But is that up for interpretation?
Yes.
Absolutely. Will is in bold. I will. To nobody.
It's
like
not
nobody's
in
there.
bold.
It wasn't?
Is it in bold? Oh, it is in bold.
Yeah. So I read that, the second time I read that as, because she says, deal with it. And he's like, oh, I will. That's the way I took it the second time.
As in...
And we know from, in the letters column of this issue, that it's, we're led to believe that as time went on, King Immortal became more and more crazy because of Robot. And
which
again,
is what we had talked about.
Yeah, and this is Kirkman, he said in the letters column, this is just kind of what he imagines happening, that, he messed up Immortal and ultimately took over a little bit for a little while, and then Invincible had to stop him or whatever. But I love that because it's, again, somewhat interpretation. Like, is he accepting the fact that he did this and it's sad, or is he, hinting at what's to come? I liked seeing Molly drawing Invincible. Now, is she drawing her brother? Or is that Merc?
I don't know.
Because after all, like he said in the beginning of the issue, Mark said you can read all about him on the internet.
I think it's
Marky.
I think it's Marky.
Yeah, because of the gloves.
Yeah.
I don't know.
One thing we didn't talk about. You know what? I'll save it because it's going to come back up later.
Okay.
Oh,
all right.
So this is the end of the end of Ryan Ottley's section.
I love this page.
Which I wasn't even thinking about. Like, I was so engrossed in what was happening.
So was it almost like you were like, oh, I have a whole nother issue to read?
When it was like, oh, and then, because I want to be so much more. He's talking to Nolan.
Yeah.
And it's so sad. It's so sad.
It is. It's so good. He flies to Nolan's grave, which, by the way, is under a tree. Isn't that Ryan Ottley's first issue? The cover of the issue
funeral
was the gravestone with the tree in the background. It just was reminiscent of that Ryan Ottley's last page reminds me of Ryan Ottley's first issue cover.
Yeah.
I don't know, though. But yeah, it's him talking to Nolan, talking about how, I love that he talks to him.
He's like his journal. Like, it's kind of like a, kind of, I don't know. I love that. How many times he probably goes there and he says, he talks his problems out.
Yeah. It reminds me of Horizon Zero Dawn. If you played Horizon Zero Dawn, there's something very similar to this. But anyways, the him talking about how he got his costume and
the name Invincible.
Yeah, and then what the name of Invincible means. My dad's out there fixing the universe. I think about that every time I look at the stars. And this is him talking about how he has such huge boots to fill. He
looked up to his dad.
Yeah.
He says, talking about his dad, he says, he chose the name Invincible because it was something he felt he was. I chose it because it's what I'll have to be if I'm ever going to live up to his legacy. Because he turned out to be so much more than that. So the fact that he looks up to his dad so much, having not, I mean, he...
And this is also, like, we know what's going to happen later in this issue. This is setting the tone for his dad. He feels like his dad is a god in his eyes now. Like, he's fixing the universe. How the hell is he going to live up to that? So I thought that was poignant when you read it a second time, like knowing what's going through his mind at a young age, that year after year he has to look up and constantly be reminded that his dad is doing such great things.
And that's the end of Ryan Ottley.
Him drawing. Well, I mean, just look at that one panel. If I could have that panel of Marky looking up at the stars with his hair blowing in the wind, and look how simple it is.
I know, it's so good.
It's such a fucking beautiful panel. It's so perfect.
And shout out again to Mark Morales and Nathan Fairbairn. I mean, holy shit! Especially the colors. Not only this panel, but later on in one of the Terra in the Gladiator arena. Mm-hmm. Oh, so Corey Walker's arc begins,
and
and we're taking it back to
Now we're picking up where we left off with the ships leaving Earth, and now it's passed to Terra's point of view. It's so smart.
And we have talked about Corey Walker, Ryan Ottley, going back and forth, doing different story arcs and stuff like that.
It happened in the Flaxon Dimension. It happened. I mean, we got to see that when Corey
this
had
was
his own
in
arc.
the same issue, and when I turned that page, I was so I used the word enthralled, and I was so in it. I was so in it that I didn't even fucking know. I didn't even. I was like, holy shit, that's Corey Walker.
Part of me feels like a lot of this is due to, not only is this Corey Walker's best work in my opinion,
ever, straight up,
but I think a lot of this goes back to the fact that we, 12 issues ago, had 6 issues in a row of Corey Walker's art. We know what his version of these characters look like. So it felt natural to us. It hadn't been years and years since we'd seen his interpretation.
Yeah.
And it flowed so well.
So we get Terra growing up over the course of 6 panels.
2 pages.
Which was amazing.
6 panels, my God.
I was so mad at her when he caught her having sex or something that with someone who was not. Yeah. And then she's
being all snotty about
it. That boy was beneath you, and she was and behind me and on top of me, and I was like, how dare you?
Yeah.
You're time out.
It felt
You're
bad.
grounded.
This is Terra. This is.
I know.
But she's human. These are arguments that people really have. That's what I love about this.
But seeing her grow up from a teddy bear fucking astronaut costume, okay, to a fucking full grown woman that was
literally poops lava.
Oh yeah, that was funny. Adorable. That was adorable. But you know what?
And kudos. Call back to her the tablet being broken by Marky.
Yep, he broke, and I hate coming back here and stuff
Earth
like that.
Is stupid.
But look at the. We've talked about, again, I'm not exaggerating, or I'm not boasting or anything like that, or trying to boost egos, but this is literally Corey Walker's best that he's ever done.
It's so good.
It is so perfect.
She looks awesome.
And she looks so awesome.
Her face in everyone. Her hair is different in everyone. I love that.
I would just like to point out her face. Her facial expression in every single one is so different and so spot on and perfect. Her being a toddler,
each one still looks like her.
Her being a little no, I don't like this costume. I can't move it. And then her being a teenager. It's just
her being an adult.
And then her being what we assume is probably early 20s.
Guys,
looking so mature and grown up. And
we need to just stop for another minute and repeat ourselves when we say we've seen Terra grow up. That, as I was reading it, I was like, "Oh my God, no way!" And then I kept clicking over to each panel. I was like, "Oh my God, she's older. No way, she's older."
Yeah, I kept thinking "Oh."
It was just, and then seeing her finally
in the Invincible outfit.
Oh yeah, because she says, "Okay, so what is she saying here?" She's saying
she's joined a part of the Empire, which is called the
Conservation Order.
Mm-hmm.
Which their main job is to go back to worlds and ensure that things are working
properly,
and working properly.
And they're helping people.
So we talked a long time ago about how, we hope that Mark creates the World Betterment Committee, recreates and stuff like that. That wasn't the big deal of this issue. It happened. So what? Move past that. He did it.
Yeah.
Like going deeper and being like, oh, not only is the World Betterment Committee a thing, but Terra works for the Conservation Order, which is the one which goes to the planets that they've already rehabilitated and make sure they're still doing okay.
So
you know what I mean?
Kirkman went even deeper with that.
Yeah.
It's not just a world betterment, but they actually there's a lot to that.
Maintaining it. Yeah. She looks awesome. She looks so awesome. And then we get to see her actually doing that, cleaning like out the filters and helping this planet.
It's the turbine or something like that she was helping take care of. So then we get to see Mark.
And Mark looks
and he's older.
So right
his
here,
face is wider. It's more defined.
I think this is a moment in which time jumped. And
for sure.
Oh yeah, I agree.
Because something coming up was a little jarring to me the first time. But this moment between her cleaning out the turbine, or maybe even before she cleaned out the turbine, between last time we saw Mark and now, a good amount of time had passed.
He's older. I mean, and we know how fast or slowly Viltrumites age once they reach maturity. So
And how smart was it
to change the colors? When I saw, did you not notice it at first?
At first, I was like, "Oh, that's a new style. Like, it's different."
Yeah. He's all white. And then
It took me a minute to be like, yellow and blue.
Yep.
And he's talking about the mustache.
Like,
For real?
Like, why didn't I do the mustache? And then he goes on to talk about how this is not the old Viltrumite way. This is not the old, like... doesn't he essentially say, like, this is not...
They represented something that he's not about. What his new empire is not. They represented, conquering.
I just like how they didn't stick to any old... What's the word I'm looking for? Like the heritage of the Viltrumites, and there was no kind of like, oh, this is the Viltrumite way. He's like, no, this is the Viltrumite way.
Literally, the only thing is like the symbol, and even that changed the color. And he says, I love it. He's like, I am not from Viltrum, I am from Earth. He puts it out there.
He's saying our new way is a way of peace. And then we get old Alan.
I almost feel like Mark might have even aged a little bit between these last two pages.
I think it's in the same time.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'd say so too.
So
this is very important. So these next couple pages, obviously it's only one page of conversation, but
wow, my gosh, there's so much.
Basically,
Alan is old. Alan, it looks like his rock formations, his whatever is gone onto his face and given him like these pointed.
His ears are very big.
His ears are huge, and he looks old.
And he's saying, that Mark is doing so much good that he's kind of not needed anymore.
Yeah, but not only that,
coalition is needed.
He brings it up by calling back their first meeting when they fought together.
Yeah.
And Mark was like, "Can we just talk about this?"
Yeah.
Another callback to the early issues. This is filled with it. But again, it's not beaten over your head.
But I thought it was crazy that, like, Alan's issue is the fact that he wasn't needed. You would think that would be a good thing.
Yeah.
And that's exactly what Mark says.
Yeah.
Like,
I think there's a lot of story there.
Says
this is probably one of the
our
things
people
that...
are thinking that they don't need us. And he says, well, maybe they fucking don't. Like, isn't that a good thing? Mm-hmm. He says, I was afraid you were going to say that.
It's a matter of
turn the page, and there's their war.
Mm-hmm.
This is my biggest issue, and I guess this is just me not wanting it to end. But so you see the battle between the Viltrumite Empire and the Coalition of Planets, which I predicted would happen.
Well,
I predicted would happen.
Yeah.
I did. But okay, let's talk about this page really quick.
We had no idea why. Let's put it that way.
So we know why.
No, I'm saying when we predicted it.
Oh, we just thought that it would happen. Yeah.
We were just looking for conflict. That's why.
So just let's talk about it. So you have Battle Beast, the new Battle Beast that is teamed up with the Coalition, fighting Viltrumites.
Space Racer, who is teamed up with the Coalition.
Tech Jacket.
Yep, which makes sense. He's best friends with Alan.
Yep. And you also have
in the bottom corner
Versa.
This is so funny.
In the bottom right-hand corner.
Laying it fucking down.
Laying it.
Trident.
More on that in the Robert Kirkman interview.
Yep. So, okay, and then the next page after that, you get a really quick conversation.
We also get Craig Ursel.
Yeah,
Thresha,
Ursel. That is
like,
Ursel. And I thought, is that
I'm
Ursel?
not Thresha. Talua.
Is that Ursel right there? And I was like, oh yeah, it is Ursel. So anyways, so the next page you get just 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 panels of
The
Alan,
resolve.
Yeah, of Alan and Mark after they've presumably fought.
Yeah.
Right.
This looks like, the battle has winded down.
Mm-hmm.
That would have been a crazy fight to see.
Can you imagine? Obviously, it ends in a draw.
Alan is so strong. I mean, it kind of looks like Alan got his ass beat.
Yeah.
Well, he's old.
He's on the ground.
Yeah.
So is Invincible.
All right, so I'm gonna
God,
talk.
that's such a cool fight.
I am gonna talk about
Old Invincible versus old Alan.
I'm going to talk about something that is not great. All right, that is not this is my biggest critique of the comic. And again, this is me just wanting more. But I feel especially after reading these last 3 pages, cuz I could see where it was going. And Cory Walker, the amount of time and story that he got done and Kirkman got done in this second half of the issue is really astonishing.
It is.
It really is. But I really feel like, do you remember when Kirkman said early on that he wanted Invincible to keep going, that he wanted new creators to come in and do it, and then afterwards he's like, no, I want to end it. Like, I have an end in mind. I feel like this is proof right here that when I read this, I saw it on a billboard.
Yes.
I saw it on
That's how I felt
like
too.
a big bulletin board of like Kirkman outlining 5 years of story.
Yeah, and,
And
the
how are we
closer
going
to
to
closer to now
touch
is
on each
obviously
one?
more
Right.
detailed, but the further away, the more it's
Right.
just bullet points.
Right.
These are the bullet points that we never saw. At
Right.
least that's what I think.
No, that's exactly right. That's what it is. And
It feels like it.
And what I'm hoping, and I didn't talk to Kirkman about this, but what I'm hoping will happen is that we will see a coalition fight, a coalition and the Empire.
We'll see these stories someday.
And I think that it would be cool to do like an annual one shot. You know what I mean? Like to go back, because think about it. Kirkman said this is what happens. The details aren't there.
Yeah.
But this is what
That's
happens.
what's great about this whole issue. I mean, it's over. Invincible is ending. If there's ever anything that connects, whether it be a novel, whether it be, maybe.
But I feel like I cheated. I feel like I fast forwarded through the movie and just watched the end. I'm like,
don't
what's
you want to
happening?
know? Don't you want to know the journey? Like that? Don't you want
I
to know
do
how?
want to know what happened.
Yeah.
But I can never do that. I fast forwarded through the video and it's all corrupt in the middle. I can't find out how it happened.
like we've said on, or like I said on, I think two episodes ago, is that I like endings that are left to open to interpretation. And the good thing about this is it's not really, but it is at the same time. Like he gave us a legit ending, but he left it open to interpretation, not for,
As to how it got
not
there.
for how it continues, but how it got there.
Right.
And that's what is so unique about how he did this. And that's honestly what blew me away about this issue.
Doesn't that make you, the more you talk about it out loud though, doesn't it make you feel like he wanted to make a mark and say Invincible is ending this way?
Yes.
I don't care.
I think that's the point.
I don't
That
care
was
if
the
other
point.
people.
He said that. We knew that before.
Right. But I don't care if other people come in and a different writer comes in and does this arc, but this is how it fucking ends.
Yeah.
It ends
the
with
Grayson family is going to be right here at this point. They're going to experience these events. And sure, go ahead, make Marky fight the Angstrom's son, make something crazy happen, but no matter what.
you have to follow these
matter
points.
what,
It's going to end with them.
Marky has to get to the point where he fights his dad.
Exactly.
Like, that's awesome.
Right.
And you know what? We can have that in our own head. You know what I mean? Like whether we see it someday or not, it doesn't change the story. How?
But that's so when I was reading it, I was like, okay, I see what happened, and it made me again more hopeful because we saw a picture of a fist that's not in this comic.
Yeah.
So what does that mean?
I'm keeping my expectations, in check.
You
Maybe
think it's just like
the cover of the third compendium.
Oh yeah,
You know what I mean?
so.
Like we can.
Yeah.
But maybe we'll see.
So next we get
Another story arc.
Ursel coming down and talking with
Tara.
with Tara, who I'm kind of assuming this is on Earth.
No, I think this is the
No.
planet. No, this is the planet from when Tara was a little girl.
And Oliver
Okay.
died.
Oh,
Yeah.
okay.
This is the planet.
So they're talking about how Tara sat out the war and she was in the she was doing her thing, going planet to planet.
Tara is very much a rights activist. Like she's very much about peace, and this is what my father set out to do. Why would I fight in a war?
Right.
I love that about her.
Yeah, that's awesome. I love that. But they're talking about that, and she's kind of insinuates that maybe her father blames her for not being a part of the war, which Ursula is like, no, of course your father's not like that at all. He understands why you sat it out. And they're kind of talking about it, and Tara's phone beeps.
No. The most important part of this conversation is when Tara says that the conservation
that they're
wants to break away from the Empire.
And she's going to support it. Meaning that she's going against her father. In a peaceful manner.
Well,
I don't think that it was
she's doing it
because
because the way
the
way she was raised was peace. So she's doing what she believes to be the peaceful thing.
Right.
And does that ever happen? I mean, it doesn't really matter, but that is we see that she's struggling with that.
She's her own person, which is also amazing in this. Are
they in a relationship?
I thought the same exact thing.
You didn't get that, Bill?
I got that vibe. Maybe that's open to interpretation too. Yeah. Why is she there?
Yeah.
Thanks for agreeing to meet me, Ursula. I've got all the time in the world. The war is over. I've got all the time in the world.
She says that she could stay with her and stuff.
Yeah.
I mean, maybe not.
That's the kind of. I mean, it doesn't have to be.
I think that's cool though.
Open to interpretation.
You know what? Can I ask you a question? Who would you rather date? Tara or Ursula?
Absolutely Ursula, because Tara still feels like my daughter.
That's a good answer.
I feel the same way. Ursula, yeah.
So her phone rang and she got called away.
And she says, my father needs to know. Oh, I'm sorry. She was talking about the Betterment Committee moving away. But she gets a beep on her phone, and Ursula's face is like her saying it's my mother. I feel like she knows because
everybody probably knows.
Old.
This is like the queen.
Right.
So she gets called away. This is when I was like,
now I know how much
it hasn't been 20 years.
Yeah.
Because nothing had really indicated how much time had passed. Maybe it was 30 years.
Mm-hmm.
Because Tara, she ages slow. It slows down.
Mm-hmm.
How old would you say Eve was? Not here. I mean, when
she had 26.
26?
When she had Tara? Yeah,
20,
so it had to be
26 and 30.
So for her to look like this, it was probably like a good 50 years.
Yeah. Yeah. Maybe even more. She's
30 years, that would make her, what, 57? Or 67?
She looks like she's in her 90s.
Yeah, she's at least 50 years.
Yeah. Anyways, Eve is dying. She's on her deathbed. And her last words are that she's so proud of her daughter. And she passes away.
Well, she's looking at both of them.
That's true.
I think she's proud of. She's saying both of them.
Well, she says Tara.
Both of them.
She does say her name.
Yeah.
But did you guys notice who's also on this page? It can't be a coincidence, but that is the doctor that Eve's pregnancy doctor. Yep. That looks exactly like her.
Yeah, but I thought that
she's wearing the same exact outfit. She's a medical. She has superpowers to be medical. Maybe she lives forever.
She doesn't have superpowers.
She did. Remember, she was able to look X-ray.
The doctor from before when she was pregnant, but not this. You have no indication that she has superpowers. She says her heart rate is spiking and she's looking at a monitor.
No, I'm talking about the original one. Yeah. I just thought that was an interesting callback, or maybe that just medical people wear the same thing in the Invincible universe. I don't know, but I thought that's at least what I thought.
Turn the page. Turn the page, wash your hands. Turn the page.
So,
Rocco's Modern Life. Nice job.
Burst of light.
What happened?
Burst of light, and there is young Eve looking shocked. And Tara says, Mom, and she goes, wow, I guess I'm essentially immortal.
Mark says rad.
Rad.
This was the only time throughout this entire issue that I was a little like, yeah. You know, it's just
because it was kind of quick.
Yeah, but it's not that it's just quick. It's just like, yeah, we know. You know what I mean? We talked about this. We talked about, because we talk about it in the Kirkman interview. If she did die, we would have had a problem with that too. Why couldn't she just bring herself back?
Because maybe it was only a traumatic sort of gut-wrenching, thing, not like a peaceful way to die.
Yeah. And even though I'm saying I was a little whatever, I was grinning. I was so happy. I'm grinning this entire issue.
I liked this page, Mark going from planet to planet.
All the aliens.
Kind of showing the world betterment and showing, how it works. Sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't.
That's what I liked. Sometimes it works, and sometimes it doesn't. Because the top panel and the middle one are the same world. where he was like, here, peace. We've planted food. This will give you enough resources.
The
and
fact
then
that
years
they
later,
survived without seeing each other.
and then they die. Like the entire
Wait,
planet's
you're saying
dead.
those are the two same planets?
No, I'm saying that the top two are related and the bottom two are
Oh,
related.
yeah.
Those are the same planets. So the top two.
Well, not the same planet.
No, I'm saying they're
Yeah.
the top one and the middle one are the same, and then the bottom two are.
I read them as all 4 different.
I did too.
No,
planets.
they're not different planets.
Yeah, they are.
No, they're
Yes,
not.
they are. They 100% are.
No, they're the same civilizations though.
No, they're not.
Because
No, they're
Mark
not.
is saying in this panel, and I'm going to read it verbatim. I don't like when we do this, but things will grow here. Before the provisions were leaving run out, you'll have more food than you can eat. Now your people have no reason to fight. And then the next panel after that is we were 100 years too late. The transmissions we detected were older than we thought. They were good people. They just lost their way to greed, talking about like the provisions and stuff that they left them. You don't think that was that?
No, I took that as a completely new race.
I
These
did
are
too.
all 4 different races that they go to. Eve's not in the first panel, if that helps. But anyways, these are just 4 stories of them helping different planets. One of them, they got a transmission and they were just too late. They didn't make it there in time. One of them, they helped settle the argument over food. Now they have plenty of food, so now you guys can stop fighting.
No, they're good.
Okay. Yeah, I guess you're right. I read it differently,
That's all right.
but no, it is okay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But yeah, I did like seeing that. All the different examples of it.
The next
Oh my gosh. So
is this would have been such an amazing story arc to see, which again is what makes this so awesome, like leaving it open to interpretation. He leaves you wanting more, but ended it at the same time.
But we don't really need it.
Yeah,
It's
he leaves you wanting more, but gives you a satisfaction.
Yeah.
That it's so awesome. Like it turns out that
Marky pushed
Marky
himself
kind
so
of
far.
went
that-
crazy a little bit.
Yeah, he idolized his father. He says he worshipped him to the point where he hated him. How could he ever live up to him? He left him on Earth, and he even brings up the fact that he was born out of hate and Tara was born out
I
of love.
loved
That's
that.
so awesome.
What?
So my mom cursed me to being ... bad, referring
that's
to
so sad.
Marky knowing that he's a bad guy.
Oh, it's heartbreaking.
But it's so true. How could it not happen that way?
Like you abandoned
This
me.
whole-
You left me on Earth because I'm destined to be.
Yeah, bad.
Bad.
Because I was born out of hate.
This whole conversation, Mark saying, "You're not bad. I'm sorry I left you. I think deep down I just wanted you to live the same life that I did on Earth. Marcus, you've done so much good for Earth. You've surpassed me in so many ways. I'm proud of you. This was just a misunderstanding." And Marcus is just bawling and crying. This whole scene is just so emotional.
And
it seems like the ending to such an epic story
such
arc.
an epic conclusion. And remember back in Ryan Ottley's portion of this issue, Debbie says, "Hey, you'll never know. Maybe he'll remind you what it's like to be human."
And then Mark says,
I remember-
I don't want to think about it. Or something like that.
I was thinking back to that when this was happening, because this is Mark all over again, fighting his dad. You know what I mean? It's like he's having a father-son fight. This time Mark is in the Nolan position, not in terms of good and evil
Who's
and
bad,
everything,
yeah.
but he's fighting his son. And it's like did he lose touch with Marky? Could he have done more? He apologizes to him. He's saying this was a misunderstanding. I'm sorry I left you down there. I'm proud of you. Maybe he didn't talk to him enough. Maybe,
I think he was kind of doomed to live that kind. Like I think that if Mark had taken Marky with him, I still think he would have went down kind of the same path.
yeah. I don't know. I don't think so.
You think that?
I think
that,
a lot- I
you
think
think that Mark made a mistake by leaving him on Earth?
No. I think
Imagine
that,
ripping him away from.
Yeah,
his,
no, I
you know-
agree. I think that he was too big to Marky, and he just could never live up to it.
So how
And
could he
it's-
have avoided it?
Maybe, I don't know.
I
I
think
don't
it
know.
was
This is such a
inevitable.
deep situation.
I think
don't
it
know.
was inevitable.
Maybe seeing him more often, maybe talking to him more, maybe bringing him every now and then, like showing him that he is human after all, but he worshipped his father as if he wasn't human almost. So, I don't know.
Neither of them are.
I
now
turned
we
this
see it-
page, and I almost gasped because the color.
The color!
The color of
Dude,
this.
I was just thinking the same. The lighting, it looks like it's fucking like dusk, and like it's just it feels like the
This
Ryan,
two-page spread is one of my favorite things in this entire
it is
issue.
so fucking perfect.
Tara, the way she's fighting, the way she's moving and dodging, and the shadow of this axe hammer
talk
above
about
her
that.
head.
She's with Mark now. She's back with her father.
Yeah.
And not only that, she seems to be like the Viltrumite Empire's champion.
Yeah. Well, yes, but
There was a change there for sure.
Oh yeah, obviously she's not going against her dad.
Right.
And like they've made up. She's still working for the coalition at this point. Maybe hundreds of years have passed, and she's and she's with her family, and they're going planet to planet because they're the royal family. And it's not so much that she's the champion, it's because Mark even says so. We're all like this,
right?
You know what I mean, like. It's so badass. She look how badass she is standing there.
Easy.
Her doing
easy
so
it is.
1, 2, 3. So 3 panels in. There's the big one that looks so epic, and the fucking lighting in this is amazing. But so the third panel of her like just doing that quick dodge.
Yeah.
Her face, Corey Walker. Look at like the expression on the alien's face and just all the action and all like that panel.
Did you notice that the alien had like metal joints?
Yeah, that was badass.
So cool.
Yeah, that was really, really fucking cool.
Catching the hammer and just shattering it.
Mm-hmm.
So the leader, who I'm assuming is the leader of the planet or the king of the planet, is pissed because, she's
not killing.
You're too. Your champion is way too small.
Yeah, it's our.
You know what I mean? Like this is impossible.
Rules, by our rules, she has to kill him.
And then Tara decides not to kill him to spare his life. And he says, "You're gonna allow him to live on in shame. This is not our way." He grabs a big ass sword, and
shatters it over Mark.
like
nothing. He says, "You're as strong as your champion," and he says, "We all are."
Yeah, and it goes on like this king ends up saying, "You have every right to kill me."
Well, he says, how is it possible that you guys are all this strong and you're not taking over planets? You're going planet to planet. Not only that, but you're this much stronger than me and you're treating me as an equal. Mm-hmm. He said, how are you guys not? How are you the way you are?
Yeah.
He says it's the Viltrumite way.
Yeah, not striking him down, not killing him.
Yeah.
So the last 2 pages of Invincible. It's Mark and Eve and Tara together on that planet. We assume it's probably that planet. It looks similar to it. The lighting all feels the same, maybe. Not important.
Eve says, "You did it." He says, "What?" She says, "You did everything your father asked. You changed the Viltrumite. You changed the Viltrumites. You turned them into a force for good. Celebrated across the universe."
Mark said he's been thinking about the past a lot lately, and something that keeps coming back up in his mind is when him and his father had that fight, so many years ago. He said, he looked down on me and said, "What will you have after 500 years?"
And then they just look off into the sunset.
Yeah.
And it ends.
So this is 500 years in the future. Eve has died probably 6 or 7 times, right?
I have a question.
Aged and then died.
When I first read this, I didn't really take that as it's been 500 years.
I did.
I took that as it's been. I mean, sure, yes, you're not wrong.
Oh, you mean like what?
Why though? I mean, it could be 300 years. He could still have the same thing going through. It could be 700 years. It could be 1,000. It doesn't matter.
I think I took it as it's been at least 500 years.
Yeah.
It could have been 7. It could have been 1,000. I don't think it was 300.
So there's a couple different ways I interpret this ending. I want to talk to you guys about this for a second. What do you think he means by this? What do you think he means by? Do you want me to tell you my 2 interpretations? Does he mean that when his dad looked down on him and said, "What will you have after 500 years?" His dad was implying you'll have nothing. You'll have nothing. Everything you love will be gone in 500 years. You will outlive all of them. And then was Mark thinking about that? And he goes, he was wrong.
Yeah, absolutely.
Or
oh god,
was Mark thinking when Nolan said, "What will you have after 500 years?" And Mark said, "You. I'll have my family." And not only that, but I'll have you. You will be in, like, he has Nolan. Because of Nolan, he is where he is.
I think
The
both of
Viltrumites-
those things. I think they're one and the
love
same.
that.
I think they're one and the same.
Yeah, he has Nolan. I'll have you, Dad. Everything he did, everything that led up to this point was because of Nolan. And, I mean, obviously him. But you know what I mean? Like, he still has him. He still has his dad. But he also has everything. He got it all.
I just took it as like face value. Like, what will you have? And he literally has his daughter and his wife who is going to live on
Yeah.
with him forever and ever. You could not have gotten a more hopeful ending.
Like, it's literally like, you might as well have just wrote hopeful at the end.
All right, so I'm going to go ahead. I'm going to read the next on really quick.
Yeah. All right, Bill, give us the next on.
Oh.
They left it
No,
out of
no,
this one.
They left it out of this one. Okay.
I loved this Invincipals. Kirkman's thank you section in the beginning was so awesome. The way he wrote that was amazing. Every letter was so perfect.
Yeah, good.
Sean Mackwitz, holy hell, like, you picked some good letters. All of them were so
I
funny.
wonder how
so
many they
poignant.
got. They probably got a ridiculous amount of
yeah.
letters
Oh, yeah.
for this final issue.
Yeah.
IGN finally reviewed an Invincible comic.
Oh, they used to. Every now and then they did.
They reviewed this one.
Did they really? All right. All right. What did IGN give this issue?
What do you think they gave it out of a 10?
Out of a 10?
Mm-hmm.
9.5?
8 point, I think 4.
Really?
Yeah. They said pretty much what I felt, where
Huh.
that it was a very nostalgic and perfect, like, little sum up to it, but there was much to be desired in, like, the stories that were told.
That was the point of it.
Right,
Yeah,
I agree.
I think they're missing the point a little bit.
But yeah, they missed the point. I mean, I don't think that that should negate the score of
Yeah.
it.
What would you give it?
I would, again, this is
All right,
me
so
saying...
let me say this. IGN, and we know this from listening to years of Greg Miller and Kind of Funny
Yeah.
and IGN stuff. IGN, when they give something a 10, that does not mean perfect. A 10 in IGN means masterpiece. There is no perfect game. That's what they tout. That's what they say. A 10 is not perfect. A 10 is a masterpiece. In my opinion, this would be a 10.
10. I agree, a 10.
It is a masterpiece. It was awesome.
This
It
is...
was, if
It's okay to disagree.
No. Okay, with this being an ending, yeah, it was an ending that I deserved.
yeah,
You know?
and it's not.
And it was.
It's not this isn't us. I mean, we talked to Robert about, blowing smoke up his ass or whatever it is, I mean, we're not trying to really rub it in. We would say if we didn't like it as much.
We've always
He-
been
he-
very
he
honest.
wanted
have
some
been
criticism.
We've always been very honest on this podcast.
I know, and when he says he wanted criticisms, I don't have that many.
I
with
have
this
very
issue.
few, other than I completely understand that. I guess I don't understand why it needed to end now. Like, I see the stories that you chose. I would have liked to have seen the Viltrumite and the Coalition fight. I would have liked to Alan and
No,
Mark.
I
just
don't
too
need to
much.
see it.
I would have
don't
liked
need-
to have seen Marky
But then
and
you
Mark.
want to see the next thing, and then the next
I
thing,
know.
and then the next
That's
thing.
what I'm saying. That's what I'm saying. Like, I would have liked to have seen all those things, but just end it. Like, and I get it. And the ending that it is here, like, how perfect is it that Mark and Eve get to live forever together?
Forever.
Yeah.
I don't think that Tara would really live with them like that forever if this was 500 years.
Mm-hmm.
But have you guys watched
Maybe she wasn't. Maybe she's
Alter
just
Carbon?
visiting. No, not yet.
Okay.
Maybe she was just
I have.
visiting with them. That was one thing.
I
Like,
just watched the first episode.
Tara looked really young to me in this panel. That's why I wasn't sure. But she would stay that young looking for a while, I suppose. So
Yeah, we don't know. We have no idea how the biological
yeah,
facility
yeah.
of Viltrumites work.
So that was it, guys. I was 100% satisfied. I was so happy with this ending. It touched on everything I wanted. It gave us all the right nostalgic moments. It was sad. It was happy. The art was stunning. It was great.
Yeah, there was nostalgic, moments, bringing it back to the beginning.
Several times.
There
over.
was Earth moments of like heroes fighting just random villains. There was an introduction of a new villain that got you excited.
Couple of
and then
them.
there was closure, and then there was development of a character who we fell in love with, Tara, and we got to see her grow up into a woman. Like, thank you. You know what I mean? Thank you. I would have hated to have it end with her still be young. Like, how great is that we got to see her grow up
So cool.
as an
So
adult,
cool.
and she's who I want her to be.
Yeah,
She's
I
who
know.
I want her to be.
She is what you want.
She is who I fucking want her to grow up to be. Mark, you did a great job raising your daughter.
Yeah.
Marky, not so much, because he's a bit of a...
Because he didn't really raise him.
He's a bit of a twat, I mean, from what we understand.
Yeah.
Oh, you're my dad, and
honestly,
you left me.
we talked a little more. Or, we talked. Obviously, we've been talking about this for forever of what we wanted, and the one thing I wanted were callbacks. I wanted.
Oh my God, there's so many.
You got it.
And the thing is,
in spades.
Devin Barry asked me my opinion of the final issue yesterday, and literally all I said to him was Angstrom has a son.
Yeah.
That's honestly what I think of when I think of this issue after everything that happens. Everything that happens in this issue, and that's what I think of. I love stuff like that.
Might not be happy with it, TJ. Just because I felt that I didn't want you wanted it to end. We've talked before about
and
you
I got
wanted
it.
a definitive ending. You wanted to make sure that it's the end. I wasn't sure how you would take those side stories.
No,
I love that.
perfect.
I love that.
It's
It makes
perfect.
it makes me so happy because it calls back to what we loved about Invincible when it was in its prime. This new, exciting, mysterious world filled with villains and heroes and everything like that. And you don't know what's going to happen next. And this issue gave it to us.
Here's what I think about this issue in regards to what people wanted. I feel like everyone should be extremely happy with this because if you wanted more Invincible, he gave you a spin-off series. He gave you, an Invincible Series 2. He gave you all these different things all in one issue. It's all in one issue.
And a happy ending.
He gave and he ended Mark's story. He ended Mark's story. He gave you spin-offs. He gave you a second series with Kid Invincible.
Yeah, or even Invincigirl. Like we can go either way.
That's what I mean. He gave you everything.
Kid,
you can't be satisfied with. You can't not be satisfied.
It's like the two main villains of Mark's kids, Kid Invincible or whatever. His son, his main villain could be Angstrom Levy's son. His daughter, her main villain is the daughter of Battle Beast. Like, come on.
Yeah.
It's perfect.
It's perfect. So people that are like, oh, I wanted it to end to where they can leave it open-ended and maybe they can come back to it like we've talked about. I didn't want that. Maybe other people did.
Yeah.
I feel like they didn't get it, but at the same time, they got all the story that they would want. You know what I mean? Like in all these flash forwards.
They got an ending.
Yeah.
They got an ending.
And then I got my ending.
Yeah,
wanted.
everyone got an ending. And
So, I think now is a good time to transition over to something that we had wanted from the beginning of starting this podcast.
We got it with our 50th.
Yeah, we'd always talked about what it would be
episode.
like to be able to sit down with Robert Kirkman and actually pick his brain on a lot of things. And we, behind the scenes a little, we weren't really trying to get in touch with him several months ago or anything because we figured, let's just wait till the end, try and reach out, try and get in touch with him, and hopefully we'll have him on towards the end. Did not expect it to happen this quickly.
it all happened in less than 24 hours.
Yeah.
So we scrambled, tried to get. I mean, we had been planning like questions just in case for a while now, so it wasn't too bad. But just it was pretty stressful.
Yeah.
But we pulled it off, and Robert gave us not only like an amazing conversation, but an hour of it. So you guys are in for a treat. And Kirkman just sent us a message saying that was fun. Thanks, guys. Online. So
Anytime that Kirkman speaks to us, we have to tell people about it. So
Here's my thing. This is a busy guy. You know what I mean? And we got to take an hour of his time out of all the properties that he's in control of and that he's working with. He took an hour to talk to 3 fans
that are we're I mean honestly we're nobodies. We're like we say in the interview, we're not professionals at this. We're just 3 Invincible fans that sit down and talk things out.
Had you asked me even a month ago or a year ago, would I talk to the man who inspired me to get a tattoo on my body of his words? I'd say no fucking way. There's no way. There's no way in a million years I'd ever talk to this guy.
Yeah.
So it was so I apologize for us if in the beginning we just seemed a little geeked out.
Oh yeah. Oh, we deep dive into Invincible. This is geeky.
Yeah.
We're so excited for you to hear it. We were really happy with how it went. You guys ready?
Enjoy.
Enjoy.
Here it is.
First off, I want to say thank you, obviously, for, coming onto this podcast with us and talking with us. But not only for that, but, for creating this thing that we're so passionate about, co-creating and writing.
Sure.
And sticking the landing. Well done. 144,
Oh,
man.
hey.
Holy shit.
Good.
Yeah, what are the
I got to say, right off the bat, you guys, if we do, I don't know if this interview is going to be like plugged into the last part of the podcast or whatever, but if this is all like roses and like, oh, you did a great job, nice job, and then the beginning of the podcast, you guys are like, I didn't like this part, I didn't like that part, and you're like protecting me from that, I'm going to be super angry.
There's no way, man.
Not at all.
See, that was the first thing that I said too, is I was like, we're hypercritical. Like ever since we started the podcast, we started breaking things apart. And I was like, I wonder, how often do you listen? Do you listen often? Have you listened before or?
I've listened before.
Yeah.
Yeah. I'm sorry for anything bad I've ever said, Robert.
No, I've listened to a few episodes. I don't recall you guys ever saying anything nasty about me.
No.
I will say this thing though. I gotta critique you guys. Your intro is infuriating because you guys talk about Ryan and Corey a lot, but you always open the podcast with Invincible, a comic book by Robert Kirkman and no one else. And it's like, come on, guys. It's not that hard to say three names.
I honestly thought about that about 3 or so episodes ago. If you go back, I actually changed the wording to say a comic book written by Robert Kirkman. Only because it started to bother me, and I get in that rhythm where I do the intro, and I have to reteach myself to say it. But you know what? We haven't done the intro yet for this episode, so
whatever you say goes now.
that.
Like, this is your podcast now.
Right.
You're taking over.
Oh, great. Awesome. Well, I think it should be about Transformers because that's more interesting to me.
Not at all.
there's going to be a whole segment on Tom Cruise.
Yeah. Hey, now we're talking.
No, but honestly, like after you reached out to us yesterday, I texted the guys and I was like, it's going to be kind of awkward when I tell Kirkman that I hated the ending, and just joking around, honestly. And Ryan's response was, "You got to be kidding me!"
Because there's no way.
There's no way.
There's no way you hated it. Because we try not to talk about it until we get on the podcast.
We obviously have questions for you, and we'll get into it. But
cool.
I think that the problem with things that typically build and build and build to the end. There's so much expectation that gets put on the end that people are typically let down. I was fully prepared for it to be mediocre, and it just blew me and all of us away. It was insane. So good.
Oh, well, that's awesome. No, writing it, I was fully prepared for everyone to be like, well, this wasn't satisfying, just because I've enjoyed things and been disappointed in finales and final issues and things before, and so the whole time I was writing it, I was like, I'm really trying. I hope this is good, but I'm pretty sure there's going to be another one where people are like, did you just introduce Angstrom's son and he's got like a talking fox, and like, why did you do that? So I don't know, we'll see.
Yeah, I think Satisfied was one of the first things I would say. Like right after I finished, I was like,
Good.
this is I feel so fulfilled. Like it was amazing. Go ahead.
Oh, did you know like the format that you were gonna do from like almost the very beginning? When you knew you were gonna end the comic, did you know that's how the format was gonna be, like the time jumps going through like that?
Yeah, I talked a little bit in the interview with Mashable that what eventually became the end of Invincible started after I had written issue 100, and I was like, I was working towards the Viltrumite War for so long, and now that that's wrapped up, like I don't really have like a big goal that I'm working towards. Like I had a lot of stories that I was doing, and I knew like, what the next 10, 15, 20 issues were, but I didn't have that like big thing. And so I just started like as an exercise, writing towards an end. Like, you know what? Like I'll just say like, I don't know, like what would the end of Invincible be? And I started like figuring that out. And that was the gladiator scene with adult Terra and the bits of Mark talking about his conversation with his dad during the fight and everything. And I knew that, that I wanted to do like a lot of like spacey cosmic stuff in the last half. And then as we got closer to the as it eventually, actually became the end, I knew that, it wasn't always expected that Corey would come back to do 6 issues, but I knew that I always wanted him to do a lot or as much chunk as he could of the last issue. And Ryan does not, I've talked about this publicly. I don't know if he'd like this. He was not a huge fan of Invincible being in space.
We talked to him about that.
Yeah. He's like, I didn't get into this to draw not superheroes and spaceships and like aliens and busy streets. Like he was not loving the Telescria stuff. And so I was like, oh, well, then I'll get Corey to do the space stuff. And so when that happened, I don't know. I mean, eventually, again, I've been working towards this for years, but the having the first half focus on Marky and Marcus and the second half focus on Tara and Mark, it started taking shape in my head that it'd be cool if Ryan did all the Marcus issue 1 stuff, and then Corey came in and did the wrap up.
It felt very cinematic in a way, like the way that it flowed, and we talk about it on the podcast a lot, where sometimes where Corey comes in and then Ottley comes back, like it almost feels like a different arc and jarring almost. Jarring being a bad word, but like just different. And this felt so seamless.
It felt so seamless.
So seamless. Like, and I was like, even the first page where Tara said, "Where are we going?" and he said, "Everywhere."
Well, it was great using the same art of the Viltrumite ships flying away.
Yeah, and I was like, holy shit,
Bookend
that's Corey, and it looks like Corey Walker, but it's so perfect.
Yeah,
it's
it
so
was
perfect.
So good. I like that. I like that you had, you have Marcus and Ottley doing his thing on Earth, the thing that he always loved, and then you have the space stuff with Corey and with Tara's point of view. Splitting it up like that was amazing. Now,
cool.
How you talked about you writing this over the course of maybe the last few years or whatever, or leading to it. Have you ever played with the idea of just killing everybody? Because that's everybody was
Issue 100, death of all things. Is that something that either for that or for the final issue you thought about doing?
No, the gag for the death of everyone storyline was always that no one dies.
Right.
So, because I was kind of poking fun at how Marvel does these storylines where it's like the death of Wolverine, and you're why am I reading this story? It's called the death of Wolverine.
That's part of what makes this so good too. Is your how you make fun of things like that.
Oh, thanks. Yeah, Star Wars: The Last Jedi, spoiler alert, isn't called Star Wars: The One Where Luke Dies. So, it's not. It just didn't make sense to me. So I thought it'd be really cool to do an Invincible storyline where we say everyone dies and then no one does. Mm-hmm. So, and I almost called that the death of Invincible, but then I thought. The death of everyone sounds cooler, but no, I haven't ever just thought about killing everyone off. Well, especially for the end of the book, just because that'd be a fairly unsatisfactory ending. You'd be like, okay.
It has a very positive, happy ending.
Hopeful.
And it's very hopeful, and it's the kind of thing that Invincible has always done that. It's always had extremely dark, tragic things happen to our hero, and then somehow good comes of it, and that being resonant in the end was awesome.
Oh no, thanks. This is I feel this is weird. Is this going to be a podcast of me and compliments the whole time?
No,
we can do this every day.
We got questions.
No, that's good. But yeah, I just if you've been reading this book for 15 years, I'm fully aware that, some people are sad about this book wrapping up. I'm sad about this book wrapping up. Even though, Ryan, Corey, and I are the cause of the sadness. But not, I don't know, to end on a sad note, I feel like would do the audience a disservice. And, I wanted to give someone a sense that, you'd completed a journey by reading all these issues, and that, there was some optimism and some hopefulness to that, so that you would, feel good. I want people to feel good when they get to the end of this.
Mm-hmm. Definitely.
I lost that bet, didn't I? Because we had a running bet of everything that would happen. Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
And I thought that it would end tragically, and it was so fucking hopeful.
I've listened to the last couple episodes, and I can't remember exactly what it was, but there were a few times where you guys were really close, and I was like, God. son of a bitch. Like, that's not good. Am I telegraphing things too much? Am I doing the obvious?
Well, okay,
and then when you were like, oh, it's going to be depressing. It's going to be so depressing. I was like, yeah.
Yeah, fuck these guys.
So, I mean, that being said, I mean, Eve. I mean, was there any other?
Oh
way
yeah,
to do
the
it?
Eve thing. I think you guys caught on to that, and I was like, God damn it.
I mean,
Yeah.
but then again, if she had died, we would have just said, why couldn't she have done that? And then we would have argued that.
Yeah. I mean, I definitely telegraphed that too much because she had been injured 2 times in a fatal way and been brought back. So I feel like that one was fairly obvious. I'm going to critique you guys on that one. You guys, that was an easy one.
Come on, I was so proud of that shit, man. When I read that, I was like, oh yeah. But I mean,
don't be proud. It was obvious.
But I think that goes to your commitment to like the characters that you've created. You know what I mean? There's a lot of consistency through because if she did die, you'd be like, no, because she's close to death. We've already talked about how her powers can activate and stuff like that. So again, I couldn't see it ending any other way. So you're right.
That's perfect.
You're right. You're right. I was wrong.
Yeah, and I didn't know that I would ever get to this stuff back then. But when I had Benito Cereno and Nate Bellegarde do the Adam Eve miniseries, that's where I had them introduce the concept of her
mental block.
She has the mental block that keeps her powers from being too powerful. Because I knew that eventually I was going to reveal that she was immortal so that she could live forever with Mark Grayson. So, so some of I'm just saying, like some of that stuff, I planned for a pretty long time.
Oh, that's actually depressing because she's going to outlive Mark.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, she might.
It is. Boom. It's tragic. I win.
Boy.
Tragic.
All right, so I got a question for you.
Or maybe the death of Mark will be so traumatic it'll break her her mental block and she can save Mark's life.
Yeah.
Touche.
We got the writer.
And then they'll just live on forever.
Well, you just coined it. If it comes from Robert Kirkman, then that's what happened.
Period.
What were you gonna say?
So yeah, my question: Battle Beast's daughter. Can we assume that that's also the daughter of Thresha? Is that the daughter of Thresha? No.
No, that's well, now you guys are getting me on the thing. Yeah, that's like Battle Beast's daughter from his planet. And she's an adult, so she would be too old because she was in the past in Marcus's story.
Oh, okay.
And so that was just
I was trying to find that timeline. I was like, where was it? Because I was like, how long has passed? With the fight with Marky and him sitting on. I was like, oh, that's super far in the future because Eve already died, so that's at least 100 years.
Right.
And we see the new Battle Beast fighting in the Coalition War.
In the background.
Yeah.
In the background.
Yep, she's there.
And she lives for a long time. Who cares? But but anyway. But no, that's she's not Thresha's daughter at all.
Okay.
No.
I think that's one thing that I loved about the final issue too. Is when people think about the final issue, all they keep talking about is who's gonna die, who's gonna get killed off. But you introduced so many new characters in a final issue, and not only that, but you brought back Nightwing.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Or Darkwing, I'm sorry. Darkwing.
Yeah.
Darkwing, yeah. But Darkwing, Nightwing, whichever one.
Yeah.
Get all the Graysons in this book. I don't know. I was pretty happy with that. I mean, I think it's absolutely ridiculous to introduce a ton of characters in the final issue, but that was kind of fun. And honestly, just the random characters that Corey put on the splash page of them fighting the Coalition of Planets.
Yes.
Some of those I was just like, I didn't even write those in. And then it's funny, he was drawing that page and I was like, you know what? To me, Universa could totally be working for the Coalition at this point. I mean, it's been a long time. And I did that for a lot of reasons. One, Corey he designed Universal, but he'd never actually been able to draw her in the book. Mm-hmm. And And so he's always been like, oh, can you put Universa? Like anytime he'd come back to do an issue, and I never was able to. And then I put that joke in the letters column a couple of times, like, well, you're not going to see Universa. And I meant that because I was like, I'm not going to be able to fit her into the last issue. But then we did. So it almost seems like it was a planned gag, but it really wasn't.
No, I just liked how she was like right in the corner. She's like,
yeah,
hey.
and that's what made it even better. I laughed out loud because of all the times you said that she's not going to be in it. She's not going to be in it. That was great.
Yeah.
My question was, you kind of ended this on your own terms. You said you didn't really, you'd rather just end it yourself rather than see it in the head of someone else doing it bad. Do you have this when the time comes down the road? Do you see the same kind of thing when it comes to Outcast and Walking Dead? Would you want to end those on your own terms?
Well, not just
when the time comes,
and not just on your own terms, but could you ever see somebody else writing
taking
because
over?
You always talked about Invincible could do this, but then you kind of was like, no, let's just end it.
Yeah, I mean, even like years ago when I would talk about it, I would say, Walking Dead, I'm going to write that until I'm terrible, and it'll, I'll write that one into the ground, and no one will want to read it by the time it's over, and I'll keep writing it. Invincible, because it was a superhero comic, and it's a little different thing, and because I am actually a huge fan of, Marvel and DC Comics historically, and, I like the fact that, like, Daredevil wasn't even really Daredevil until Frank Miller came along, and you were like, whoa, what the hell is all this stuff, I really thought like, oh, it'd be really cool if there was another creator that could come in and go, oh, you think this is Invincible, or this has actually been going on, and this is, like stuff that I could have never, thought of. And that, really appealed to me. But as I've said in many interviews, Invincible's always been about going against hype, and that's actually what superhero comics do. And so when I was writing this hypothetical ending that wasn't really intended to be the end, it was just supposed to kind of give me a drive to work towards, and then, I'd be able to do different stuff after that. I started to realize, like, this is like a really poignant thing to see the Viltrumite Empire transformed into a force for good, and to see Mark's humanity from Earth affecting this alien race, and it really kind of tied the theme of the book together in a pretty cool way. And I thought, like, I've been very careful every time I've come up with anything to do in the Invincible series. Like, well, how will I ever top this? Like, what could I do after that? And, like dumb things like, well, I don't know. They punched a planet and it blew up. So maybe at some point, I'll have to have someone fight on the sun, like just trying to come up with like little goofy stuff like that to always kind of like have like a one-up thing. And I was like, I don't know where the story thematically goes after that point. I feel like that's such a striking resolution that there's not really anything left to do. And that's when I was like, oh no, this is exactly what Invincible would do. Like Invincible would do what, Spider-Man and X-Men and Batman and Superman will never do, and actually, wrap up. Plus, guys, I'm very busy. I have so much stuff. I need to take a nap.
No, that especially tied in with Ryan wanting to move on to try other things. Like it worked out. It worked out.
But I don't want to blame Ryan. I don't want any Invincible fans out there to be like, wait a minute, Ryan wanted to abandon this book. Like, what the heck? I could have talked him into staying. Let's just put that out there right now. So
like it's gonna get back to Earth, Ryan. Wink, wink. We promise. You can draw Earth again.
Yeah, they're fighting in the snow every issue. It's gonna be great.
So what is your like normal writing situation? Like, do you like to have music in the background? Like, what do you normally do? Do you have to have quiet? Like, where do you write? Like, what does Kirkman do to section?
Yeah, I usually listen to music, but I don't. So like I have a lot of like favorite bands and I listen to music and stuff, but I can't name any songs by my favorite bands, and I don't really know the words to a lot of songs because I listen to music while I write, and so it's like background noise that. Oddly enough, I feel like it kind of drives my mood. Like sometimes I'll like I feel like I write faster when I listen to upbeat music, and I write slower when I listen to more somber things. And so that I feel like helps me out. But as far as like where I write pretty much everywhere. I mean, I write at my house, I write at an office, I write in an airport, I write on a plane, I write in hotel rooms.
On the set of Paul.
Yeah, I've written on the set of Paul. Yeah, that was fun. I'll often be sitting on the set of Walking Dead, and the monitors will be up, and the producers will be around, and actors will be working, and I'll just be like, I'm typing Invincible on my little laptop here. Like, yeah, shot looks great. Shot looks great. Keep going here. Let's, and it's cool because then the actors will walk up and be like, "Man, you're always working." I'm like, "I sure am. Look how hardworking and cool I am. I'm writing while working." It's lame, but anyway, yeah. So I write pretty much anywhere.
Yeah. Well, we appreciate it.
Thanks.
So how has writing scripts
Do
changed?
you appreciate it? Because I don't hear the Outcast
Outcast podcast,
but that's fine. It's
Wait, actually, I think there's an official one. Already,
I think Skybound does an Outcast podcast.
They actually does.
But yeah.
So this is our. I don't know if you know this. This is also our 50th episode.
Yeah, that's really cool.
Yeah, I mean,
so,
as somebody who appreciates the milestones,
yes.
I mean,
we haven't.
Aren't you glad we put this issue out late so that it could fall on the 50th
perfect.
episode?
That's what I said.
Yes.
I was in the tub when watching Waterworld.
Tell me more.
When Ryan, I'll tell you more. Yes, I was watching Waterworld. Yep,
You watched Waterworld in the tub?
Yeah, I did. Like you, very much like you, I have to have like slow music when I'm doing slow things, and watching Waterworld when I'm taking a bath.
So, I mean,
but when he wrote when they text me, I was like, this is why he delayed the issue. So
we could do it on the 50th.
Yeah.
But no, I mean, we haven't talked about it on the air yet, and what better?
That's exactly it.
Yeah, I mean, we haven't talked about it on the air yet, but I think what a better time to say it. But now, with you here, we're talking about doing a spin-off podcast, I guess, or another podcast for Oblivion Song, because we can't wait for that to come out. That's going to be awesome.
Oh, awesome. No, that's really great, guys. Yeah, please do.
Yeah.
That's very cool.
Produced by Robert Kirkman, everyone.
it'll be called the Oblivion.
Yeah, great.
Oblivion Song Sing-Along. Anyways, we were talking about you writing. I had another question about that regarding
Sure.
how your writing style or how your process has changed since the early days of Invincible. Obviously, you've probably developed a quick hand with Ottley or Corey and stuff like that. So how has that changed?
Oh, yeah. I mean, when I start working with an artist, my scripts tend to be a little bit longer just because I don't know what the touchstones that we have in common are, and so you'll develop a shorthand when you know what kind of movie someone likes, or if you've been to conventions, and I mean, I can with Ryan, I'm like, it's like that one building in San Diego that we were walking by, there's like little things like that really streamline the process. My scripts are also like really terrible, and like Corey will make fun of it sometimes because I like to make my scripts very conversational because I feel like there's sometimes valuable information in what I type. So like sometimes I'll be like, they're coming down a cliffside and they're like, jumping over a rock and kicking a dude, or I don't know, like maybe they're going around the rock and like tackling a guy, like, whichever one. And he'll just be like, why don't you make up your mind? Just tell me what you want. And I'm like, well, no, like, you decide like which one you think would look better and work, my scripts tend to ramble a little bit more, but with Charlie Adlard, it's just like these guys are here. This is what they're doing. It's all very succinct, and I know that he, will do the staging right, and put all the characters in the right place, and build the scene. And it's the same with Ryan and Corey and everything too. But yeah, and then I've got new guys I work with where it's like, here's a Bible, and they're like, oh god.
So looking back at tie-ins like Brit, Wolfman, and Tech Jacket, are there any characters that you kind of wish would have had a spin-off series of their own?
I mean, Brit did have a spin-off series. I'd love to have more Brit. But I'd like to do, I don't know that I'll ever do this now, so I need to make sure I say that, just because I feel like, opening up the Invincible universe again, might not be the best thing. I mean, I don't know, like there might be more Capes or Wolfman or something like that. Who knows? But I really love the character of Best Tiger.
Yes.
And I never really got to write him much because Phil Hester Wrote him a bunch in Invincible Universe and his Guardian of the Globe miniseries. I had him show up a couple times in Invincible, but I never really got to do a lot with him, and I always thought he was great.
Yeah, I do too. I love that. Mm-hmm. I loved Best Tiger. Are there any story arcs that you think you're like particularly proud of, or kind of your favorites going back that you like to reminisce about? And kind of
reminisce about? No, I don't know. I'm pretty proud of the Conquest stuff.
Yeah.
And like his death and stuff in the Viltrumite War. I don't know. I don't really think about it all that much. There are certainly like chunks of the comic where I'm like, that could have been better. There are some places where it kind of meanders. I don't know. Like, I think if I were to, to stop trying to pretend to be humble, the Bulletproof, I think it's issue 97, the like half issue where Bulletproof murders his parents and then covers up the murder with his girlfriend.
Yeah, 97.
Yeah. I'm pretty happy with that, with how that played out, and I never intended to go back to it. Like, I wanted that to just be this dark secret that the readers share with Bulletproof. And then the fact that it jumps to Philip Schaff in the page after that, where he's like making fun of it. I was always proud of. I'm proud of how that issue turned out, but also proud of being able to build a series where you can do the absolute like stupidest things that no one should ever be able to do in a story. Where the tone can just turn on a dime, and the comic can go from like the absolute darkest moment to the stupidest, silliest moment, and people are like, yeah, that's what this book does. Like, that's fine, Whereas if I were to do that in Outcast, people would be like, no, I'm not going to read this anymore. Yeah. So I don't know, like that I think is pretty cool.
And that reminds me, Flip Schaff actually says in that issue as well that, Mark asks him, why'd you have to do 15 covers? 15 variants for that issue. So the last time we had a big monumental issue was 100, and we had 500 covers. What was the decision between only doing 2 for 144?
Not
that I'm complaining because
no, it's fine. I remember you guys speculating that there'd be like 1 billion covers, and I was like, no, they're wrong. But the whole point. You can say that variant covers are a ploy to, drive more income out of an issue, and that is true. But I've always, kind of wanted it to get more books out there so that it can build readership. And so every benchmark that we would hit, every massive issue, I would try to think of different ways to, goose numbers to get more readers onto the book. And when you're doing your last issue, that's not that important.
Yeah.
So I was like, one cover by Ryan, one cover by Corey. Like, I think I don't want to muck it up with other. Yeah. Didn't want to like mess it up with other things, and
And that one. Go ahead.
I was just gonna say, what other artists deserve to draw the last issue of Invincible's cover?
No, that's
I agree. And that one variant from Corey Walker
when they dropped
was an entire episode. We just talked about a fucking cover.
Oh yeah.
But it was so good.
But I remember how it changed everything, and it changed.
And that carried over into we haven't talked about the new issue yet, but that excitement when we saw that cover carried over when we read this.
It almost felt like a natural progression. Like we had this, and we're always so speculative when we see covers. Like why is Invincible angry? Like he had an angry look. Like who died? You know what I mean?
But ever since the days of early Walking Dead, when you see the guy hanging. And we're like, oh shit! And they talk about hanging that guy in the prison, and it never actually happens. I love, and do you? You obviously intentionally, put misleading covers out there because they come out. Early and
for sure. Why is Mark angry on Ryan's cover for the last issue? Because I thought that would be like interesting and misleading. Maybe he goes evil. Like maybe something really bad happens. If he was just standing there like looking happy or whatever, it'd be like, well, this is not as an exciting of a cover.
Britt's on the cover too.
He is on the cover.
Yeah.
He is on the cover.
Pretty prominent.
Yeah. I don't know. I just thought it'd be cool if Britt was on the cover.
Yeah.
Because I gave Ryan a list, I think, and I was just like, I don't know, put these guys on here, and then Britt does not show up at all.
I mean, he's in the world, so it makes sense. Like, why can't he be on the cover?
I always thought he was going to
Sure.
die.
Yeah.
I mean,
I just love Britt. That's why he's on there.
Mm-hmm.
well,
I don't think. Yeah, Craig does appear. Never mind. All right, go ahead.
I was just about to. I mean, you kind of just answered my question. I think maybe I was going to ask you the same thing about story arcs, only with characters. You mentioned Best Tiger, you mentioned Britt, but are there like favorite characters that you're kind of proud of writing? Like me personally, I think that I've always thought that Rex Blode was one of like the best characters I've ever. Like, he had such a cool personality. I love that he was like misunderstood. Ryan loves Powerplex, who's also an amazing character, and then Bill's favorite is, as a lot of people's favorite, and it deserves to be, Battle Beast. So, do you have do you have a character that you?
I mean, as far as like favorites, like I don't really have like, oh, this character I like more than all the other characters, because it is somewhat like picking your favorite child, and I do have to love every character like while I'm writing the characters. I think in the last couple of years the most fun one to write was Tara.
Yeah,
dude.
And I would get really excited when I got to her scenes. So that was a lot of fun. Ryan did not enjoy drawing her. Corey did. So that was fun. But I don't know. I mean, I like Alan and Telia. I like their relationship, and I think there's some good gags there. I don't know. The gag stuff is always the stuff that appeals the most to me.
That was always
the funny bits and things.
That was always a big topic that I would like stop the podcast to talk about, is how stupidly adorable Tara was. And I have 2 kids. And you write her so well. Like, just the stupid stuff that she would say was like, oh my God, my daughter would say that.
Her and Eddie.
Oh, well, sometimes my daughter, who is 8, would say things, and I would write it down and then have Tara say it.
That's awesome.
So a lot of it. And Corey kind of molded her look a little bit off my daughter, too. So,
Wow.
Yeah.
I know Corey had been drawing, Invincigirl since, like, geez, the earliest one I saw was like 2007 almost.
7?
Was that always going to end up in the comic, do you think?
No. I mean, I just thought
worked out perfect.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah, I think Invincigirl. I'd have to ask Corey to be sure, so don't quote me on this. But he just started drawing her for fun, and it was just a gender swapped, Mark Grayson. Like, I don't think it was ever intended to be a different character. It was just like, oh, this is what Mark would look like if he were a woman, and and that's why he did like young lady Omni-Man, yeah. And so which is great. And Corey was the one that suggested Kid Omni-Man. He really likes the contradictory weird names, but yeah, I mean that just while I was planning all this stuff out, I'd always intended for adult Tara to be in that gladiator match, like kind of proving out the future of the Viltrumites and how they behave differently now, but the fact that she's wearing an invincible costume and the fact that Mark changes the Viltrumite colors to yellow and blue was something that I came up with much later. And that's when I went to Corey and was like, would you mind if, we just like put her in an invincible costume? And so she was kind of like Invincigirl. And he was like, oh yeah, that'd be great. So that's how that all came about. But, it seems like it was something that we planned for years, but in that case it wasn't.
Yeah.
So before we segue, because this is kind of an appropriate question for both things, because we're going to talk about the movie, and we want exclusive news.
You're not going to get it.
But I've always thought that you were such a revolutionary writer in that, like, just your tone, like that's a Kirkman book. That feels like Kirkman. Even if the tone is different, Walking Dead is completely different from Invincible, but it's you. That I feel like you could have such a voice in other mediums, like movies, TV shows, writing your own things. And I know that you've written for Walking Dead, but have you thought about taking the next step, like into other mediums and novels?
Well,
and stuff
first of all, referring to it as the next step, like it's some kind of step up or step forward, is offensive to the medium of comics that we all love. I mean, I wrote the pilot for Outcast, and I've written a lot of stuff behind the scenes. I think that for me, what I prefer to do in television and movies is newer stuff. I think that like adapting my own things is cool and fun and everything, but I really enjoy writing comics, and I really enjoy doing the stories that I'm doing there. When it comes to other mediums, and I am working in other mediums, I've got a deal at Amazon, I've got a deal at Universal. We're doing all kinds of stuff at Skybound. I like to change it up. I like to write different stuff. So we'll I don't know. I can't say much more without spoiling things, but we'll see.
Speaking of the movie, like the Invincible movie, what do you have like a role? Like are you a producer or?
Yeah. Sorry, I'm nodding, but it's been announced that I'll be a producer along with Seth and Evan and David Alpert and our Skybound people and other producers that are on Seth and Evan's side. Like there's going to be a ton of producers. I'll be one of them. So yeah, I mean, I'm working hand in hand with those guys. I'm always careful, I don't want it to seem like, like they're working at my pleasure or anything like that. Like that's not the case. Like they're very much, taking the ball and running with it. But, we've been very communicative, and, we're very much talking over the plans that they have and the things that they want to do. And, I do consider it my responsibility, much the same way as I did with Walking Dead, to make sure that, we get an Invincible movie that the fans of Invincible will love as much as they do the comic. And so, that's something that I take very seriously. And so yeah, I mean, I'm very much in the mix, and, I think, just choosing to partner with Seth and Evan, is a big step toward that. I think that, if you look at their filmography, there is there's a lot of stuff that, lends itself to an Invincible-like story that I think indicates, that they will do a good job. Like Superbad is a very good example of, how they handle very real, teenage situations and teenage characters, and they're just really talented guys. So, we're in good hands.
Yeah.
So with, like, we don't know really much about the movie industry or things like that, but we're so hungry. Obviously, we know you can't say too much about it, but
sure.
With us not knowing about the movie industry, how long does it normally take for you guys to start casting, or like when can we, in a very broad timeline, might we hear about some casting news? Like a year from now or 2 years from now?
Yeah. There is no timeline.
Yeah.
Right.
It's all about hurdles. Right now we're working on the outline. Once the outline is done and approved and everything is working, then it'll go to script. Once the script is done and approved and everything is working to everyone's satisfaction, we'll get the green light to, start to move toward production.
Yeah.
And once that happens, then, it's a quick hop, skip, and a jump to, casting and filming and all that kind of stuff. And the way these things work, the term out in LA is you got to hurry up and wait. And so, you'll spend all this time developing, and then when they're like, okay, you got to go picture, it's time to go, like everything will ramp up very quickly. And that's when you'll have very public, like, oh yeah, this is going to happen. And now look at this. And now there's casting, and now there's a trailer, and, that kind of stuff. And we have not quite gotten to that point yet. So, once we get through these hurdles, then, you'll start to hear more and more. So right now, just be excited and hope for more news soon. And, don't expect to see a release date anytime soon or anything. It's still very early on.
We're excited, but we can be patient. We want it to be great. So
yeah,
I'm still thrilled that it's going to be a movie. Like, we talked about it in so many episodes. Like, what could it be? A TV show, animated Netflix? Like, what other things could it be? So just the fact that it then got announced to be a movie, like, again, typical Invincible, just took our expectations and fucking flipped it.
And not only that, but having essentially your blessing and the fact that you're talking with them is huge. These days, I mean, I feel like we've been burned so many times by adaptations where the writer or the creator doesn't want anything to do with it.
Sure.
And so far, that's just really
The Last Airbender.
that's just really good news.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, Seth and Evan have proven themselves to be really good collaborators. I mean, they work very closely with Garth Ennis on Preacher and The Boys, and they're good people, and they're comic book people. Like, they're huge comic book fans. I mean, the first time I met Seth Rogen a number of years ago, he said, "Oh my God, you're Robert Kirkman, and I've got Battle Pope sitting on my neck at home right now," and I was like, "What? This is crazy." So like these guys are true blue comic fans. So yeah.
Okay, awesome. We've got a couple more, bringing it back to comic book Invincible. We've got
Sure.
a couple quick fire things that we're going to grill you on. Issue 122 ended with Space Racer versus Thrag.
Mm-hmm. He got away.
He just got away?
Oh,
he got away.
You jerk. I knew it. I was waiting for it, and I just knew it.
I'm just kidding. He got completely ripped in half. Both of his halves landed on two different planets. His upper half grew a lower body. His lower half grew an upper body, and there's actually two space racers out there now. But,
I knew it.
There you go.
Yeah. So I don't know. There's a lot on the cutting room floor, guys. But but it's all there. Thrag thought he was dead, but he actually just divided into two people.
So again, with that, and also in not with Space Racer, but also in 122,
Sure.
there was some kind of
122 was full of plot holes. What happened? Go ahead.
Something that I was curious if it was ever going to be touched on again, or if you just left it there just to be what it was there was like a decrepit alien that asked for help getting up. And Eve was like, "Oh, don't touch it."
You guys talk about that all the time. Like, what?
Okay, well,
what is it about that scene that has enchanted you so? I don't understand. It was just a one-panel gag, and it was like, the whole purpose of that entire sequence of them being on Telestria was to show how alien and strange it would be to actually go and live on an alien planet. And so the thought of oh, stay away from these beggars in the park because sometimes they'll steal your identity, was just super weird and crazy. So, it wasn't like I was setting up some big massive plot of oh, this guy, he's gonna, do this later or do that. It was just you showed a nice guy, he gave the guy some help, and then all of a sudden he was like, oh, cool, I'm young again.
I'll tell you why.
That was just supposed to be a weird thing.
We really started getting into the podcast and doing it when right after Reboot. Unfortunately, we were pretty late. Right around that time, it was Corey Walker's arc. Oliver was being shifty, and we're like, wait a minute. Remember that guy that cloned himself?
That's why.
That's why. Maybe this isn't Oliver.
Okay.
Maybe that's not Mark.
That's why. We at the time when we read it, we didn't really think much of it. But after 5 years pass, anybody could be a Skrull.
True.
You know what I mean? It's that kind of thing. It's like, who's hiding?
Yeah. And it's good to, as a writer to have little things out there that people can pick up on because, that will lead you astray and keep you from guessing the plot coming up. So it's good that you guys, keyed in on that little silly thing, but it was never meant to be.
Okay, that's cool.
Or it will keep TJ up.
Or wait. He also met Space Racer before Space Racer was sent out to fight Thrag, and then that's the Space Racer that got killed by Thrag. Let's do that.
Perfect.
There you go. Nailed
That's why Space Racer is still alive. That bugs people so much.
See how fast his brain works? This is amazing. So what about? And I hate it to be such. It's going to be a simple answer. It's going to be a Robert Kirkman simple answer, just like that last one.
We'll see.
Blue spaghetti monster.
He
said you doom us all. So what? So what happened? What happened?
Well, no. I mean, so the idea there is that I wanted to have a character that was from a cosmic perspective, and so from a cosmic perspective, he's like, you are an integral piece that could shift things for the better if you do this differently, and yada, 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 which was the whole conceit of the storyline. But when he says, oh, you've doomed us all, does he mean he's doomed this alien race of spaghetti monsters that we don't really care about? Does it mean that he's doomed things that we'll never comprehend that happen 10 billion years into the future? It was supposed to be this, really like distant, unreal kind of entity. And that was the plan. I mean, I never ever really intended to go back to it. So every time you guys would be like, pretty much has got to show up in that last issue, I was like, yeah, they're going to be real disappointed. But yeah, I was never intended to go back to it. I did consider putting like a panel or something where the spaghetti monster was just like, oh, sucks being doomed, or oh man, this world blows. But then I didn't want to do too many like silly gags or anything like that I feel like would detract from the last issue.
Or like when Tara's sitting by the pool and that like one of the last panels, you just see like two tentacles of blue like sticking out of the pool, and you're like, oh no.
Yeah. All right, I got an easy one for you.
Okay.
Why is Mark from Baltimore? Where did Baltimore come from?
I don't know that it's officially canon that he is from Baltimore. I think that we have never specifically stated in the story that he's from Baltimore.
It's in Brit.
I think I've.
It's in.
Is it in the comic?
It's in Brit.
Oh, okay, it's in Brit. That didn't count.
Oh, yeah.
But no, I mean, I was going to the Baltimore Comic-Con a lot at the time,
like Tara,
and I just thought Baltimore, it's close to Washington D.C., it's close to New York. Like Invincible could pretty much like pop around from there. It's a big city. It's by the water. But it was much later when we decided, I don't know, let's just like assume it's Baltimore, but never really explicitly say it's Baltimore. Because like we did like Fire Breather, like Fire Breather would show up or Invincible would show up in Fire Breather, and that was in New Mexico. And I thought, like, let's just never actually say where Invincible is at so that we can just have him pop into any other book or have anything happen. And, oh, he's at the Grand Canyon fighting a guy. And, oh, he's over here fighting a guy. And now he's over here. I didn't want people to be worried about, like, how he geographically, like, got to Utah so quick or things like that. I didn't want it to be important. So that's why we kept it vague. But why we made it Baltimore in a vague way, I don't know. I mean, I can't remember, is it issue 27 where there's that massive spread of Invincible flying over the city, and we made a poster of that?
Yeah, the blue, yeah, yep.
And then we later did a redraw with Zandale, Bulletproof, when he was Invincible, over the same city so that we could use the city that Ryan drew twice. That was just a photograph of Baltimore that Ryan traced. And so I think that was the first time that we ever were like, I don't know, make a Baltimore, whatever.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
And then, I mean, recently in Corey Walker's arc, he drew Tara wearing a Baltimore Orioles hat.
Yeah.
So that was the thing that made me like, oh, so it is kind of official.
I'm pretty sure that Corey did an illustration of young Oliver in the Invincible Handbook, and he is wearing a Baltimore Orioles hat in that as well.
Yep.
So, Oliver, I think this is the last 144 question we have, right?
Probably.
The last of the quickfire.
Okay.
So Oliver's children, was that gonna be always kind of left like just out there in the open for us to kind of figure it out, or what? I mean, can you give us another quickfire answer as to what happened for everyone's answer?
Haluma has this tradition with her people where if her mate dies, she has to eat her children. But I thought that would be too dark to put in the last issue. So it happened. It's canon. It's official. She ate those babies. But it doesn't appear. It doesn't appear in the actual pages of Invincible. So I'm very sorry.
Because then I would have won the bet. It would have been tragic.
It was a smart move. Smart move.
No, the God's honest truth is, I didn't have room for them.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You know, like, and you know, like you don't really see Marcus's sister. I think her name is Molly. You don't really see her, but you know, she's half Viltrumite. She gets powers. She's going to do cool things. You know, I couldn't show every character and where they went. In hindsight, they probably should have been on the spread where they're fighting the coalition. You should have seen the two twins fighting in the background. Hold on, let me look at that page and see if I can find that some fight in the background is those people. Yeah, there's someone flying right there. That's one of the twins.
All right, there we go.
It's official. By Ursol's leg, there's a female Viltrumite. That is one of Haluma's twins. That's the female one.
All right.
See, that's his brain. It just
Very cool. Well, I have one other question.
Great.
In the Penvinci Pals section of the last issue,
Okay.
toward the end, it was kind of teased that we're gonna get an action figure next month. Do you have anything to like add to that or say about it or?
Oh my god! What are you doing?
Oh my gosh!
Should we not say it?
Should we not say what it is? We won't say what it is.
Yeah,
I don't know.
let them announce it next
But
week.
then there's a variant with a robot leg.
Oh,
that's
my
awesome.
gosh!
oh my god! I'm gonna die.
Well, now they know.
And then, well, maybe you don't. And then you got a blood splatter,
Oh my gosh!
All right.
and then a blood splatter with a robot leg. So, yeah.
Those are awesome.
Very cool. We are.
So yeah, that worked out.
We're obviously very excited with all the all the assurances by you that Invincible isn't dead. It's still very much alive. There are still things coming.
Yes.
And that's great news. I mean, that's
Yeah,
very.
yeah. I mean, and aside from the movie, I mean, I can't really go into details, but there's a lot of cool stuff played. I mean, that action figure I just showed you is an indication of it. Like, we're not going to stop doing that kind of stuff. Like, there'll be more stuff as we go on, and it's a 25 volume trade set, a 12 volume hardcover set that will stay in print for indefinitely, and hopefully new readers will continue to jump on, and it'll keep going. It'll keep living on in that way, and yeah, it's gonna be great. It's gonna be great.
My biggest hope is that the movie will get more people to be like, what's the comic? Read the comic, and then just because it's so frustrating not being able to read it for the first time again. Because it's so special. You know what I mean? Like
Yeah.
you watch something for the first time, you're like, holy shit, that was amazing, and it's so hard to find other things that are like that. So I'm just hoping that the movie, I'm sure it will bring more people into it, and then we can continue the podcast forever and ever and ever.
Yes.
Good. On from episode 50 to episode 150.
Yes. So, I mean, honestly, I just want to say, thank you. We're nobodies. We're not we're professional podcasters. We don't do this professionally. We don't
Sure.
interview people. And
You guys are like at least 86% as good at this as Hardwick.
Well, all right, I'll take that.
I learned everything from him and Greg Miller.
Yeah.
Oh, good.
So, but you agreed to come on this, and it's meant. I mean, this is so huge for us to be able to talk to you in this kind of way and Skype with you. So thank you so much for coming on. This has been awesome.
I mean, thanks for having me, and sorry it was so last minute. I mean, it was literally 16 hours ago that I was like, when you guys recording the podcast?
Yeah.
And so bravo to you guys for, scrambling and getting together and setting up that bookcase behind you that I can see on Skype that has those Invincible hardcovers. That's very nice of you. And, and if we're wrapping up, I just want to say, number one, thanks for doing the podcast. I mean, this is, extreme level of dedication, and it's extremely flattering that you guys take the time to talk about this comic, and your love for it really shows through. And so I appreciate you guys doing it, and you guys do a great job. It's very cool. So thank you. I mean, sometimes I need an ego boost, and so this helps out, especially this interview. You guys were far too positive. I am hoping that you guys are more critical of the book when you guys talk about it in the regular podcast, but because nobody's perfect. And also the fans that are listening to this podcast that have been supporting this book for 15 years, or even if they've only been supporting it for 2 years or 3 years or whatever, but they read the book, I really appreciate being able to. It's a real gift to be able to do 144 issues of Invincible. It's something that I've always wanted to do, from reading Eric Larson's Savage Dragon, or Peter David's run on Hulk, or Walt Simonson's run on Thor, just to be able to do a comic for a good long time, especially a superhero comic. I mean, it's fun to do on Walking Dead as well, but it's much more like the comics that I read as a child with Invincible, and I really appreciate it. So I just wanted to say to all the fans that are listening to this, it means the world to me that you went on this journey with us and allowed us to do it, and we're super appreciative and thanks for letting us do this.
Thank you.
Oh, of course. Thank you.
I mean, in closing, too, we'll say a couple things. Outcast Season 2 comes out in July in the U.S.
It does.
Which I waited a year and a half to see Season 2. I can't wait for that.
Cool.
Cannot wait.
Sorry about the delay.
I mean, it's worth the wait, I'm sure. I can't wait. Oblivion Song next month. We'll be talking about that. Can't wait for that. Is there anything else that you want to kind of bring up, or?
Yeah, I mean, Invincible 145 will be in stores in June, so that's cool. But that's all I got.
Very cool.
Well,
We're gonna keep running this like the Universa thing, right? And all of a sudden, it's just gonna happen.
Yeah, pretty much.
It'll just be in stores.
So
who knows? But anyway, can't wait to hear the episode, and thank you guys for doing this. This is awesome.
thanks,
Thank
Robert.
Thank you. We appreciate
Thank you so much.
Well, there you have it. Thanks again, Robert.
Thank you, Robert Kirkman.
Holy shit, that was so fun. We had such a blast.
We took about a half hour after that to just like
Decompress.
It was longer
just,
than
like,
a half an
sit.
hour. We just went and just told all our friends and called everybody that we knew.
I called my mom and she's like, "Who's Robert Kirkman?" I'm like, "Damn you, Mom!"
Well, now is the time to go into some listener feedback. We also reached out and asked for your voice memos and thoughts on it in place of a fan spotlight. Isn't it kind of funny that our final issue's fan spotlight is not only everybody that wanted to write, send something in, but also Robert Kirkman himself?
I feel like for the final fan spotlight, we were the fans of the fan. We were the fan
You know what,
spotlight
TJ?
of Robert Kirkman.
That's absolutely not the dumbest thing you've ever said.
Oh, you love it.
I do
You want to
love
have
it.
sex with me
I
right
do.
now.
Well,
you're
that's-
thinking about me naked. How do I look? It looks good, right?
Actually, I'm disappointed.
Oh.
I had my hopes up for that first few seconds, and now I'm like, oh, do I have to continue?
Well, that's life.
All right, I've got a couple emails to go over before we go on to the to your voice memos, or your whatever you call them, your voicemails. First one is coming from Ryley Day. Ryley Day says, "Yo guys, I'm going to keep this short and sweet since it's currently 3 a.m. here in Australia and I'm ready to pass out."
Good day, mate.
Oi.
You call that a knife?
Really? I didn't want to see any spoilers in the morning, so I stayed up until this time to read the final issue online.
Good for you.
I thought the final issue was absolutely brilliant and beautiful. I'm really satisfied with how the series ended, the new characters it introduced, and what it left open for any future Invincible Universe stories that might get told. I can't wait to hear what you guys and the other listeners think about the final issue. Love, Ryley. Thanks, Ryley. All right, then we have an email from Michael. He says, "Hey gang, I've been enjoying the podcast. Thanks. I wanted to write in with some thoughts and hear what you think. I loved the last issue. Even though it was nothing that I expected, I really thought Alan would try to use the Scourge virus again, perhaps with only the human Viltrumite hybrid surviving, and either Mark or Tara punching Alan in the eye to kill him. I'm glad this didn't happen, though. Yeah.
I didn't even think about the eye.
Alan's weakness.
We thought for sure that he was going to die.
That would have been a cool thing to bring up to Kirkman. Like I like the idea that he gave him a weakness.
I like that even more now that he didn't die because of that, because that was Kirkman's way of making us fear for Alan's life.
Exactly.
He's so invincible, but now, I love that.
Michael continues to say, "In the tradition of Kirkman's misleading titles, this was not the end of all things, but really just the beginning of so many things. The fast forward to the future was great fun, reminded me a bit of the final episode of Star Trek The Next Generation. There are also so many stories that could be told in there, and I'm glad Kirkman gave us the layout so that if any other writers add to this universe, they will have to work within his grand outline."
Exactly.
Yes.
They hold him. Kirkman holds anybody else that would dare touch this comic or touch these characters, that they would have to hold to that timeline.
Yep.
I think that's awesome.
He continues, "There are some things I wish had happened in Invincible, but it never did. I wish Mark and Eve had gotten smarter about using their powers. Mark knew he would be fighting Viltrumites who were stronger than him. Wouldn't it make sense to learn how to block a punch? Imagine if he learned some martial arts instead of approaching every fight as a straight contest of strength. Eve can control atoms. In her fight with Ursula, she could have kept all the oxygen atoms away from Ursula's head until she asphyxiated. Eve can make a blade with an edge that's 1 atom thick and slice Viltrumites into pieces. Why can't she make something at least as strong as a Ragnar's claw? And I hoped this would be addressed during the Robot War, but Robot was completely vulnerable to Eve's power. She could evaporate his drones. I wish Universa had joined the battle against Thrag. I wish Mark had grown... Hey, it's cool that she showed up in the Coalition War, though. I wish Mark had grown a mustache, but at least that was addressed. I wish that we had seen what happened to Oliver's kids. More on that in the Kirkman interview.
Which you just listened to.
Which you already listened to.
For a long time after the Invincible War, I kept wishing Mark would finish college and have a non-superhero side to his life again, but eventually I gave up on that wish. I'll end this letter with a question. How old do you think Mark was at the end of this series, before the time jumps? I think the comic mentioned he turned 20 during the Invincible War, so 23, maybe, and Eve would be 28. Heart, Michael. I remember Mark got back from the Viltrumite War, and Debbie says something along the lines of, you missed your something birthday. Was it his 20th? I thought it was like 19th. Either way.
I thought it was a teen. I thought it was 19
maybe
or 18.
it was like 19.
I mean, he started in high school.
Yeah.
I mean, going to the Invincible War, I don't think that he aged that much. He did lose 5 years when he went through Reboot.
Well, everybody else did that. He didn't age. So I assumed he was probably, mid to late 20s.
He's asking when it all ended?
Well, not when it all ended, but before the end of all things. Or, yeah, pretty much before the final issue. Mark was probably mid to late 20s, right?
I agree.
Mark is maybe like 26. Eve is like 30, 31.
But in regards to how long, like how old was he when it ended? I think I think that the overall was probably, I mean, they talk about 500 years. I think it was about that. I think it could be more than that. I don't think it was less than that.
Yeah. Bill, you have one from our friend Jourdyn?
Yeah, Jourdyn wrote us a very in-depth email that I'm going to paraphrase. So, Jourdyn Gilbert, the end is here. Longer than usual, paraphrase if you need to. Said, overall, amazing issue. It opened up with something I was hoping we'd get to see a final time before the book ended. Mark telling his son the origin of the Viltrum Empire, but with his own life story added. Awesome to see how Thaddeus murdered Argyle. They always talked about that, but never went into detail. He was happy to see Mark and Debbie becoming a big part of his life. Also liked Marky's costume. So then he talks about Battle Beast and who did Battle Beast hook up with. So now we can talk about it, right? Because it's after
the Kirkman.
It's after the Kirkman interview, and we should talk about it more. Kirkman, with utter confidence, and I hope everyone could hear the amount of I don't want to say sarcasm, but he was having a lot of fun with us and all the unanswered questions. But I mean, without a doubt, that was not Thresh's daughter.
No.
That was Battle Beast. And he even said she was older. It wouldn't the timing wouldn't have worked out because this happened before the flash forward.
Mm-hmm. So he always had a daughter? She was there from the beginning. She was even an adult maybe back then. Mm-hmm. They just aged slow.
Yeah, and the thing that I like about it is that she didn't have this curse until he died.
Yeah,
and when he died is when
and
then it passed on to her. He loves that we got to see Darkwing. And this is cool. I remember the new reader discussion where Ryan and the girls thought he met his demise at the hand of Invincible. He trapped him there, but he didn't. How funny is that you guys were talking, the last time you talked about that was in a new reader with Liz and Brittany, and saying that you guys were confident, I guess he just died with that Invincible that was in there. Because that's completely understandable. Yeah. Like, that would happen, right? Of course. So now he says, now Corey Walker's part. Loved it. I got chills reading the first page when Tara asks Mark where they're going, and he says everywhere with a huge smile on his face.
That's so great.
It talks about the age progression and how that was awesome, and to see how Tara donned the Invincigirl costume. Mm-hmm. Favorite thing about the issue was the next page. He changed the Viltrum Empire colors to his Invincible colors, and he explains why he doesn't don the mustache, which we talk about why is a very important part.
Yeah.
Because Viltrumites have mustaches other than the girls. Let's see here. Loved seeing Universa at the bottom of the page. Nice to see Ursula again. And also love the discussion between Mark and Marky. Super realistic and understandable. You know what? That's a really good point. Because the conversation, though only, what was it, a page?
2, yeah.
2 pages, was super realistic. None of it felt rushed or fake.
It felt like you know what? It felt like you were stepping into Tara's shoes, showing up to the scene and being like, what? No, I loved it. Anything else?
Yeah, so this is important. I'm just gonna read the last part right here because it's okay it's not too long. I've been listening to older episodes from you guys, and a lot of what happened in this issue, you guys predicted. It's insane. You called the Eve and old age, as in her dying and then coming back. The Battle Beast offspring hating Viltrumites. Marky having
Tommy. Shout out to Tommy. Good call with that one, man.
Oh yeah, he said that right in the Marky having an evil / misunderstood side to him, and probably a couple of other things I can't remember off the top of my head. How many years do you guys? I think this is a good point because it makes me second guess what I originally thought. How many years do you think passed between all of this happening? I want to say maybe 50 to 75 or even 80. Overall, I got what I wanted to happen in this book. Mark finally got his happy ending with his family along his side. Perfect ending to a perfect series.
Yeah.
But I mean, yeah, just because he said, "What would I have after 500 years?"
He said he thinks it was like 75 years, 80 years.
at the max.
Okay, so we did see that when the 4 panels, when they were talking about the worlds and the world betterment, and
all the different places they went.
He mentioned that. Well, this one, we
you're
left
right.
for 100 years.
Well, you're right. We were 100 years too late.
We were 100 years too late, and it doesn't then there. He says at the end 500. I know that could be open to interpretation. Maybe it didn't mean 500. I think
they're 100 years too late to help them. That doesn't mean it's been 100 years since they got the signal.
Right. He said the transmission was older than we thought.
Yeah.
So they got a transmission. Damn it.
Either way. It can be. It doesn't matter because I was seeing a lot of people online saying 500 years. I didn't take it that way at first, but it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter. They live 500 years anyways, Bill. Guess what? They live 1,000.
Kirkman will explain it in later episodes or in later issues.
We've got one last written email before we go on to the next thing. All right, our last email comes from our friend Beau. He says, I'm going to not try to be too long-winded. I thought the last issue was the most absolutely perfect ending to a series that I have ever read. While overall I wish the end of all things had focused more on the confrontation with Robot, a character I cared for a lot more and had way more of an attachment to than Thrag, this last issue made up for my few gripes with that overall arc. Most of the time, for me anyways, the endings of major stories tend to be a major disappointment. Chew, Why the Last Man, 90% of major Marvel DC events. But this one hit all the right notes and had me a bit emotional more than once throughout the issue. The only thing is I wish it would have been different was Eve's death. I felt devastated when it showed her all old and blind and stuff. Then poof, she's right back. A small qualm, but one all the same. The other thing that keeps haunting me about this issue is the thought that all of the time jumps and major story beats could have literally been more years of more storytelling that Kirkman clearly had lined up. I guess at the end of the day, I will always strangely love but hate The Walking Dead for being the glory hog that it is at the end of the day, for being more important, if for no other reason than financially, to Kirkman to end Invincible. I know that's not the reason, and if it was, it would have ended a while back, but damn it, why does it have to keep going?
Invincible's time will come.
Can't wait to hear your guys' thoughts. Love, Beau Pilgrim.
Thanks, Beau.
Thanks, Beau. That does it for our written emails. I've got something before we get into our final section, which is going to be our audio clips for you guys. We're going to open a package. This is from listener Wyatt. He sent us this. We're going to open it on the air. TJ, grab some scissors.
Here,
right
you just use your teeth right here.
No, it's fine. The green ones, all the way. You're going to have to get out of the chair.
Oh.
This package is sealed. I don't know what's in here. Do you know what's in here?
No.
Huh.
All right, so this is from Wyatt. And TJ's grabbing the scissors.
Taking his time.
And
Ryan didn't even need the scissors.
I got out of my chair.
All right, so grabbing the piece of paper first.
It's a letter.
Ryan, Bill, TJ, thank you for making the Invincible podcast. As the series comes to an end, I can't tell you how great it's been to have a group of friends to listen to and talk with about my favorite comic. I was so glad to hear that you're planning to continue the podcast for at least a few months after the series ends. Here's hoping 2018 gives us plenty of movie-related announcements to discuss. Enclosed, you'll find a few 8-bit style Invincible magnets that I made a couple of years ago. I thought I'd send them to you to congratulate you on the 50th episode of the podcast, as well as to commemorate the final issue. Most of all, I just wanted to find a way to express my gratitude to the three of you for making and continuing to make what has become one of my favorite podcasts. As is tradition, love, Wyatt.
That's so awesome.
Holy shit. Oh,
Wow.
that's awesome.
That's so awesome.
Oh my god. So we have...
Oh, these are so cool.
These are so cool.
Okay, so we have a Conquest 8-bit magnet, an Adam Eve, an Invincible, and an Alan. These are fucking amazing, and
So
what an amazing gift
Gesture,
and
yeah, that's
gesture
so amazing.
from a fan. And again, like we've said it a dozen times in this episode alone, but we are just fans, and
This is so cool.
Let me just say, like, Wyatt, this is amazing. Thank you so much. I also want to say, you know, again, I've said this 3 or 4 times on this podcast. We are nobodies. When we started this podcast, you know, I mean, okay, so Kirkman came on our show despite us not being anybody. Ryan Ottley has been such a supporter of everything that we do. He's always online talking with us. He's always there for, you know, he's with us at every con. He's awesome. When we first started this podcast, the Invincible fan base community welcomed us so openly, and I mean, you guys have become kind of our best friends. We love doing this. We're going to continue doing this. We're going to be moving on and hopefully possibly going into an Oblivion song. We hope you guys join us there. But honestly, you know, the love and support that we've received from this fan base has just been overwhelming. We're so, you know, honored to have made it to 50 episodes of this podcast, and it's because of you guys. Thank you so much.
Yeah.
I couldn't have summed it up better, TJ. Again, one other thing that I guess I like that you said. So, well done.
You're a sweetie pie.
Yeah, this has been amazing. This has been so fun. I'm thrilled that we made it to 50 episodes. I can't believe that it timed out so perfectly that not only did we get to talk to Robert Kirkman on it, but it was the final issue of Invincible, something that we've been reading for years of our life. Yeah, it's just really great. I can't believe Wyatt sent us these. These are so cool.
The amount of detail in an 8-bit magnet you wouldn't think is like a lot, but then you look and Conquest has his fucking arm and his scar going across his forehead.
Yeah, these are great. I'm going to post these on Twitter. All right, now here it is. We asked for your feedback in audio form, and you guys delivered. The first one up is our friend Jason, who's written into us several times, who he left us this audio clip, as well as bringing up the point that we never actually got to see William in the final issue. He probably lived on Earth with his boyfriend Rick Sheridan. They lived happily ever after, just like Mark and Eve, right?
I'm happy with that.
Yeah.
I am too.
All right, take it away, Jason.
Hey, Invincible Podcast. It's Jason here. I just wanted to give you my thoughts on Invincible as a whole, since you asked for it. I started reading Invincible soon after I graduated high school. You see, I dropped out of my college, and all my friends were at their respective colleges, and I was all alone. I was getting tired of Marvel and DC, especially as years went on when DC rebooted their entire universe, and the universe I enjoyed became unrecognizable. Invincible was a rock. It was consistent. It was good. It served as a commentary on a comic book industry that I was beginning to become very cynical about. It is the greatest comic book I've read of ever, and I've been reading comics for a long time now. I'm sad that it had to end, but I think the ending was great. We got a very complete ending, an ending that I could look back on and I could feel like I got a full story, and that's what's most important, that we saw a character evolve from beginning to end in a world where Wally West had kids, and now all of a sudden they don't matter in DC Comics, where things were just retconned and he forgot about them. I think a book like Invincible is important because he had the same opportunity. He could have just made his kid, which is, you know, something in comics that is that never lasts. Characters that have kids or get married, they don't last. He could have made his kid go away, and he didn't, because that's not the kind of story Invincible is. It stayed consistent, it stayed true, and it was a great ride. I'll miss it, but I'm happy we got a good ending. And thank you guys for this podcast. It's been great to hear other Invincible fans for the first time. Keep up the good work. Love, Jason.
Thanks, Jason. That was awesome. We appreciate the positive feedback. And I got to say that no man's voice has ever turned me on more than what you just did. That was special. You should read books. I would listen to that. I would listen to you read books.
That was great.
Yeah, and up next we have thoughts from Luke Lizalde and what Invincible has meant to him. And I think we can all pretty much relate to what he has to say in the same way.
Hey guys, this is Luke. I'm not sure if it's too late, but figured I'd send this nonetheless. Anyway, just wanted to talk about Invincible really quick. It's meant a lot to me. Have you guys ever heard a song and it brings back a memory, or you smelled something and that brings back a memory? Well, I would have to say that out of all the comic books I collect, Invincible is the one series that is connected to so many different memories of my life. I can pick up an issue, and not all of them, but most of them, and remember where I was when I bought it. Well, at my comic shop, of course, but when I cracked it open to read it, where I was, and it's just that kind of a special series for me. Like I remember issue 33 with Armstrong Levy meeting Ryan Ottley for the first time at the San Diego Comic-Con, him autographing that. I remember issue 30 was the first one that I actually purchased and started reading from there. I remember during the Conquest series reading that in a shopping center because my girlfriend at the time, she was clothes buying or something like that, and I was reading it and then being interrupted and being really upset because I was mid-read and was like, please, can I just have these 10 minutes of sheer joy of watching Conquest and Mark and Adam and Eve battle it out. So yeah, that's just kind of what it's meant to me. It's definitely that great of a series that I tie so many of moments in my life back to it. And one other thing about Invincible is that it's the one comic book series that got me back into reading comic books. It was recommended to me, and at the time I was kind of like, I don't know. I mean, doesn't look too appealing. But I said, you know what? I'll give it a shot, and am I glad I did, because it has. I will say it. It has changed my life. It got me back into comic books. Got me excited to read comic books again, and so I will be very sad to see it end. But the great thing is I can go back and reread it like I have before. Anyway, that's all I have to say. Thanks for doing this, guys.
Thanks, Luke. Yeah, I completely agree. Like, I have those moments looking back at, or thinking back to the first issue I got, the apartment that I lived in when TJ introduced Invincible to me. Like, I totally agree with that. Like, having those, like, sense of smell type moments with Invincible.
I think of Denny's, because I worked at Denny's, and I would read the crap out of all the softcover graphic novels.
Really?
Yeah.
All right, next up, we got an awesome one from Alex Pritchett.
Hello everyone, I'm Alex. My favorite moments from the series were every time Mark or Nolan told someone who the Viltrumites really were, every comic shop scene, Battle Beast versus Thrag, and the fake death of Eve. #rad.
Hell yeah, #rad.
Very cool. Our next one is from Mitch Rassin.
Crassin.
Hey guys, Mitch from San Diego here. I just wanted to send a quick last issue favorite and least favorite thing. Eve's death fake out, doing that one more time to us towards the very end of this issue was absolutely fantastic, and I loved it. I was a little upset that we didn't get any sort of closure on this new Battle Beast, but I'm hoping that comes in the future media that you guys have been getting teased from all of the different people working on the comic. And I still stand by you guys being a little bit crazy for the spaghetti monster and thinking that he'll come back. Thanks, guys, so much. Have a great episode 50.
A2, Mitch, even you think we're crazy for the spaghetti monster? We got it from Kirkman, too.
Yeah, well, we kind of are.
Yeah, I guess so.
Well, I guess so, because it wasn't in the final issue, and we heard it right from the creator.
We were wrong. But that's all right. Thanks for the message, though, Mitch. That was a lot of fun. What else there was something else he brought up. Oh, yeah, the Battle Beast thing. Yeah, not getting a resolution on that.
You guys think that that's going to be the first novelization, right?
Oh, that'd be so cool. I don't know. At this point, I don't even know.
I don't know either. I don't even want to make any more predictions because I don't want Robert Kirkman to tell me to my face
how wrong
that
you
I
are
am wrong again.
And shout out to San Diego. I was born in San Diego. All right.
No one cares where you were born, Ryan. No one cares.
Well, next up, we've got a lovely audio clip from our good friend Scott Bodenhammer, who actually was one of our previous fan spotlights, right?
Yes, he was. Yes, he was, Ryan. Yes, he was.
Take it away, Scott.
Hey, this is Scott Bodenhammer. My thoughts about the final issue and the comic in general are, I'm just so glad Robert Kirkman wrote this comic and had the balls to make characters be able to grow and change while still keeping the thematic elements of the comic intact. Like, for instance, Mark has grown and changed so much from that kid who was just excited to try out his powers into a wise leader while still referencing things that happened at the very beginning of the comic. This was a great issue and a fitting ending to the series, and I hope to see something new. I hope it rises from the ashes just like Eve did. All right, bye.
Thanks, Scott. It's always fun talking with you. You've been a big ongoing friend of our podcast. Mm-hmm. We appreciate it.
And then next up we have John Clayton, who lives in our backyard and has a really fun story for us.
Literally in our backyard.
Well, not literally.
Not literally.
I mean, come on. All right, John.
Hey guys, this is John Clayton in Buffalo. Just finished the second issue, got both covers, and I have to say it was everything I didn't know I wanted in a finale. We never got to hear about the spaghetti monster, but we just got to see the world continue, and it made me really happy to know that their stories go on, even if I don't get to see what happens. I teared up a bunch. I thought it was great. And I just wanted to say thank you guys for the podcast. It's awesome. Love listening to it at work. And I'm not sure if you remember this, but Bill is the one who introduced me to Invincible 10 plus years ago. I was friends with his sister in college, and I ran into him at the mall, and he just started telling me about this awesome comic, how Kirkman's changing things, and I've been hooked ever since. So thank you guys. Keep it up. I hope the podcast continues. I'm not sure if you guys listen to Fat Man on Batman, but that started off as a Just Batman podcast and has kind of just grown into a geeky nerd stuff everything. I'd love to see something like that with you guys with the series ending. And yeah, keep it up. Thank you.
Thanks for that, John. And yeah, I absolutely remember that conversation that we had, and that's how I talked about The Walking Dead, and it's how I talked about Invincible, and it's even how I talked to Kirkman in that I was like, I always felt you were a revolutionary writer and comic book, like in the comic book industry. So to go back that far, 10 years, was really something else.
And do you listen to Fat Man and Batman still?
I used to listen to Fat Man and Batman, but not since it's changed, I guess. So I would like to maybe go back. But
check it out.
Again, yeah, I can't wait to see how we evolve in this podcast and what the future holds for us.
Yep. And now for somebody who is certainly not from our hometown.
Hi, Gerd from Germany here. I loved the final issue of Invincible. It was very perfect with many, many fan moments. For example, Darkwing, Battle Beast's daughter. I loved it. I'm still sad that the series is ending, but it was awesome.
Gert, this has been one of my favorite things about the podcast is hearing all of our fans and fans of Invincible and how far it really reaches, and it's just truly amazing to know that we have listeners in Germany. That's outstanding.
Yeah, Gert's awesome. I've been talking to him online. He sent us this Invincible Volume 1 in German.
Oh, cool.
How cool is that?
Ryan just flipped to the page of Nolan in the
Reaching his hand
tan
out.
Henley telling Mark about it. Oh, it's perfect.
I love it. It's so cool. Yeah, Gerd's awesome, and I can't believe we have listeners that far. We've already got a listener in Australia, Colin.
UK, we got
UK, Germany. It's
nerds
amazing.
chatting.
Yeah.
Who's up next, TJ?
Next up is my best friend, Devin Barry.
Hi Ryan, Bill, and TJ. How you doing this evening? Gonna wrap this up quick because I'm on my way to go see Black Panther in just a few minutes. My thoughts on the final issue. I thought it was amazing. We know that Kirkman has a way of writing characters. He has a way of telling amazing stories with these characters, giving them phenomenal conflicts, and it's the journey about them trying to resolve these conflicts within themselves and with their friends and family. And I think that he really did a top-notch job with this last issue tying things up. Thing with Darkwing, I mean, come on, that was pretty cool. And it was like 80 issues ago. My favorite part of the issue was, without a doubt, the Angstrom Levy page. That was so cool, Kid Angstrom. I'm looking forward to maybe in 5-10 years them doing an anniversary issue and seeing some more about Tara and Marky and where this universe goes to. But I think Kirkman said it best in his letter at the very end when he said Invincible's not over. That there's still so much to look forward to in other media, and I'm very optimistic. I'm looking forward to that. But I guess that's it. It's all done. It's all over. What are we gonna do?
Hell yeah! Angstrom Levy has a son. Devin and I have always had a shared love for Angstrom Levy. He's my favorite villain, probably my second favorite after Rexplode. Angstrom has always been Devin's all-time favorite character. So yeah, that was huge for him and I and all Angstrom Levy fans. It was insane.
TJ,
I love that.
Can't believe you got Angstrom Levy and
Rexplode
in the final issue.
So perfect. So perfect.
Yep. Thanks, Devin. Next up, we've got Ryan Bradshaw from North Carolina.
Hey, Invincible Podcast. This is Ryan from North Carolina. Just want to say that Invincible is a great series, my favorite comic book series. Issue 144 was tremendous. Great way to encapsulate the series and to put an ending on it, if that is where we're going to go with it. You know, I hate to see it end, but I've absolutely loved the series for many years now. I was able to get a complete collection of first prints. I did have I've got them all except for number 1 right now. I sold my number 1, but I'll get another copy at some point. Love the series. You guys do a great job with the podcast, and I'm happy with the resolution of the series. Would always love more, but I understand things must end. In any case, probably some of my favorite moments throughout the series, Conquest absolutely was a favorite character. I loved when Robot and Monster Girl go to the Flaxen dimension. That story arc was really good to me. And God, there's just so much. I mean, Kirkman was not afraid to just throw characters out there. Battle Beast, I mean, do I need to say more? But in any case, I'll cut this off because I know you've got other people that want to offer their tributes. But I'll continue to perpetuate the love for this great comic book. Thanks, guys.
Thanks, Ryan, and congratulations on your near-complete collection of Invincible. Hopefully you find that issue 1 before the movie comes out.
I know, right?
Yeah.
I still don't even have a full run, man. That's hard. And gets expensive.
Devin actually is. I think he's
Devin's
there.
Nuts. Oh,
I think
he's there.
Yeah, he's there.
He might be there and then some.
Yeah.
He might have duplicates, so Ryan, if you want to reach out to Devin.
He might have duplicates.
Duplicates? Hey! Oh, he always keeps a 0.
Next up, we've got Jourdyn Gilbert, who obviously you've heard his name before. Longtime fan and supporter of us, and it was great hearing from him again.
Invincible 144, great end to a great series. What this comic means to me, great, just amazing. It's a source of motivation, and you see the hardships that Mark goes through, and a lot of it applies to real life, and it's a comic that will most definitely be missed through time, and hopefully we get something in another medium very soon.
Yeah, thanks again, Jourdyn, and I completely agree. Hopefully anything and everything from other medium come in soon. I'm really excited about that.
Yeah, and this next one is from Marel. He this one's an emotional one. He really goes deep into how much he really loves this series.
This comic was the shit!
Powerful.
Wow. Just very powerful.
Thank you for that.
Thank you.
Thanks, Marel. That was great. Then we have next up Logan Moore, who was also one of our fan spotlight guests. He was the one that talked with us all about Invincible as a video game and how we'd like to see that. And so it was great hearing from him again.
Hey, everybody over at the Invincible Podcast. This is your friend Logan Moore chiming in with my thoughts on the final issue of Invincible. Overall, I think I really enjoyed it. My biggest concern coming into this final issue was that I was afraid we weren't going to see too much of what happens in the future, and I really kind of wanted to see what was going to happen in the future with Eve and Mark and Tara and everybody else. And that turned out to be kind of the crux of the whole issue, was that we were jumping around a lot in time. So that really, once I got about 10 pages in, that really hit me, and I really enjoyed that. Some other things I really enjoyed, I love seeing Mark tell Marky the same story that we've seen Nolan tell Mark early on in the series. I thought that was a really cool callback there to kind of wrap things up and bring it full circle. I really enjoyed the reveal of Adam and Eve basically can't die. I thought that was, we've seen that before in the series, but seeing it once again and seeing that her saying, "Oh, I guess I am immortal," was really cool. And I like a lot of I just like the small, quick glimpses into what happens over the passage of time. And it makes me think that maybe they're keeping the door open for more Invincible comics in the future. But I still don't know if I would even want that without Kirkman at the helm. But we'll see. I have a feeling that this series is going to come back in some way, shape, or form, even if it's not Invincible. But more stories will be told in this universe. In the comic book medium. As for other mediums, though, I'm very sad that Invincible is over, but I'm very hopeful for the future, not only with the movie, but I think it's about time we get that freaking video game in the works. Give us a fighting game. Give us some sort of video game. I would totally love that. And, yeah, I don't know. It's a very bittersweet thing because as the series has come to an end, I'm obviously very upset that it's over, but I think this is the biggest Invincible has really ever been, which makes me excited for the future of this IP, and I am really hopeful and positive moving forward that Skybound is going to do big things with this. And I guess as a last thing, congrats to you guys for hitting episode 50. I know that is a big mile marker for you, and I wish you all of the best moving forward into the future, and I can't wait to see what you do with the show.
Yeah, I agree that what you said about comics continuing in Invincible, but not being written by Kirkman. I personally, I wouldn't want that either. And yeah, I'm super glad that we got a lot of future stuff. That's what made this last issue so amazing. So yeah, we agree.
Yeah.
Thanks, man.
And next up, we've got Mike Barrett. Now, Mike Barrett has been with us from damn near the beginning. He was actually our first guest ever on the podcast. We got to talk with him all about making his own comic book, and he's been with us this entire time. I mean, I'm gonna miss talking to Mike all about new original art for Invincible. Now that it's over with, there's no more original art. It's sad. But here's what Mike had to say.
Hey, Invincible Podcast crew. This is Mike Barrett. Thought I'd record a message just to chime in on the last issue. What can I say other than this comic was great. It was an awesome way to end the series. If I was a crazy person, and I'm not suggesting this, I would tell anybody that's never read Invincible to pick up issue 144 and read it, because it just sort of encompasses what this series is. It's a lot of fun, quirky jokes, a lot of great artwork, a lot of great action, and just awesome storytelling. When push comes to shove, it's always been Robert Kirkman's story that's driven this series. We're all fans of Corey and Ryan's artwork, but this issue really focused on the storytelling and wrapping up this awesome story that we've all grown to love. So I was thrilled. I was excited. I was laughing. I was a little sad when it ended, but it was an awesome issue. Big thank you to you guys at the podcast. You've made reading my favorite comic a little more fun the last couple years, because I've got to listen to you guys debate it. I've got to chime in and write and Hell, I even got to be a guest on the podcast, which was really fun. And to Robert, Corey, and Ryan, if you guys are listening, thanks for making an awesome book. Thanks for hitting a grand slam on the last issue, and I'm looking forward to what's next. All right, guys. See you on the flip side.
Thanks a lot, Mike. I really appreciate it. And then finally, last but not least, we have our good friends over at the Nerds Chatting podcast.
Oi! Oi, Ben! Oi! Oi!
You guys have been such a huge help and inspiration for us throughout this entire podcast, supporting us on Twitter and really extending our reach to everybody, especially everybody over in the UK. That's been great. And it's just been so fun talking with you guys as the series went on. So here's what they had to say.
Hi guys, it's Ben from the Nerds Chatting podcast here. First things first, sorry about the audio. I'm in the middle of a shopping mall, I guess you guys would call it, but it's a shopping centre over here in the UK. And this is a little bit last minute, but it's because of circumstances, so apologies for that. Issue 144 of Invincible surprised me, actually, because I didn't think we were going to get everything that we got, and it was fantastic, absolutely fantastic. I loved it. It was a perfect end to an unbelievable story. Invincible, I came late, a lot later to it than you guys did, but it has meant an awful lot to me. And in the last year, it's made my community of followers, friends online grow because of my love for this comic book that started sort of on the fly, apparently. So I'm reading in interviews that Mr. Kirkman has done since the final issue came out. I can't thank this comic book enough for giving me what I didn't even know I wanted. And I'm so sorry that it's over. But hey, we've got the full story. I can now go back and read it anytime I want. Thanks very much for including this on the podcast if it gets on. Can't wait to listen to it, guys. And well done, and congratulations on getting an interview with Kirkman. You guys rule!
So that does it. If you didn't get your audio clip sent in, feel free to send it in still, because in 2 weeks, we'll be back with the new reader finale. That's right, Liz and Brittany should be back in 2 weeks if everything goes to plan. And we're going to be getting their thoughts on the end.
The end of all things. So we get to experience the entire last arc all over again.
Mm-hmm.
It's devastating.
We also have a little surprise we might be doing in that episode. We might be taking a look back at our very first unaired episode of the Invincible podcast.
Oh no.
It's really, really bad.
Really bad.
It was what we recorded when the final issue of Reboot came out. And we're going to be looking back at that. And I don't know yet. Maybe we'll play a little Super Fight Invincible. We're just going to have a little bit of fun.
I don't even remember that.
If you go back and you listen to our actual first episode and you're like, they thought that this was good enough to actually put on the air. Wait until you see this one where we were like, that was terrible. We can't ever show this. Well, we're about to.
We're gonna do it. We figured why not.
Did that have Matt on it too?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh no.
Our friend Matt was on it as well.
And then after that new reader finale next month, we're gonna be talking all about Guarding the Globe. So start catching up on that now. Read that now. We'd love for you guys to be part of that conversation. And when we do these new tie-ins, we're going to be doing Guarding the Globe Volume 1 and 2 in one episode. And we're going to start off spoiler-free and work our way into a little bit more broad discussion about what we thought of the entire collection of Guarding the Globe Volume 1 and 2. It's been over 3 hours of recording time over...
Probably 6 hours,
of us doing
being
this.
here in this room with the two of you.
This has been quite the experience.
It has been a journey for sure, just for one episode. So much has happened. We talked to Robert Kirkman in our time, not podcast time, 4 hours ago?
Yeah.
Wow.
We got to talk all about the final issue of Invincible. We saw the end of Mark's story, and then we got to hear from all of you. Thank you again, Wyatt, for the gift that you
so
shouldn't
awesome.
have. And thank you to everybody that listens to us. I feel like we're like wrapping up and ending the podcast. We're just ending this episode. We'll be back in 2 weeks. We can't wait to talk more Invincible with everybody. Thank you all for listening.
Until next time.
Okay, love you. Bye.
Bye. Okay, bye. Bye. Okay.
Again, thank you. Like, we've been reading, we found Walking Dead a long time ago.
2005, 2006.
That really, we were starting to get out of comics, and, finding that, and then that led to finding Invincible, and just it reignited, comic books for us.
It's really, it's why we're nerds. Like, seriously, it's like what we...
That was kind of a turning point. We were at that age where we just could have just stopped reading comics, not cared about that kind of stuff, and we really, really appreciate it. And obviously we love talking about it. And, it's something that we started this podcast because we loved sharing and talking about those things. So you not only gave us such an awesome story to talk about, but you gave us something to do together. And we now love sharing that with other people.
Oh, well, awesome. Well, thank you guys. No, I mean, that's awesome. Thank you so much.
What do people hate about you? Because I can't really think of something bad to say. I feel like I need to be critical of you. Like, you know what? Your beard is always the same beard, Robert. Maybe you should trim it. Maybe you should just go with a goatee or something. Change it up a little.
I don't know. You guys should go online. There's some photos of me with a massive beard out there somewhere.
Really?
But no, I'm pretty awesome. You guys are right.
Yeah, I know it.
Invincible is a comic book by Robert Kirkman, Ryan Ottley, and Corey Walker. Thank you for listening.